Welcome back to, we're resuming our meeting. We're going into regular session. This is the North Andover School Committee for Thursday, June 6th, 2024. And I'll bring us back into session here for our regular meeting. It is exactly 7 o'clock. And I would invite everybody to please stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up, we have public comments. If anyone would like to, is there any public here to comment? I don't see anyone. So we'll move right into recognition. And Ms. Lathrop.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize our North Andover High School Principal Jackson and his administrative leadership team and all of the principals and students for a wonderful senior week and a fantastic graduation. We have a couple of pictures from graduation, I think. We had a beautiful night last Friday night.
Yeah, that first one on the left was in the Tribune.
Yes, outside. That's the class president, delivered a wonderful speech. And on the left and on the right is the class salutatorian. No, is that how you say that?
Salutatorian?
Salutatorian, yes. Also, our graduates marching in. The music selection was beautiful. A little bit windy, but we could hear everything. Some of our graduates. There's our chair of our school committee. And then all the wonderful.
I don't like that view.
All the wonderful hats, and then the tradition of throwing their hats. It was a really beautiful ceremony, and everybody worked so hard. And thank you to
the one with the Holy Cross hat.
Yes,
Yeah.
and to Harper and Cece who were leading the way. So that was fantastic.
Doing quite a good job with the staffs and keeping time.
In order and
Yes.
It was great.
And then we want to recognize our 8th graders. They have been here to see us before, who did the 8B Slick Pro showcase. They went on to the Mass DESE Civic Action Project showcase that took place at the DCU Center in Worcester. And I know many people on this sitting here tonight were part of helping prep the students or giving them some feedback. So North Andover was able to send 3 groups. Here we come. This year, Group 1 was Parker Dubman and Sri Krishna. Their project was about removing the requirement for MCAS graduation. And then, they're heading off, DCU, that's them. Group 2 was Juliette Benet, Serafina Cronin, and Maddie Kelly, and they would like to talk about some bathroom policies in North Andover Public Schools. And then Group 3 was Vivian Lubner, Isabella Locama, I hope I'm saying your name right, and Brendan Cottam. And their project was about creating a transition program for students who are coming back to school after a leave of absence. This was around mental health or an extended absence from school and how to help transition back. Students did a great job. They represented North Andover well. They were able to meet lots of other students from across Massachusetts. And they had a great day, and I'm sure that they'll ask to come back in the fall and talk a little bit about their projects. But it was really fun. I had a chance, and I know many of you did as well, to go over and listen to them talk about what they were doing. And then we have another recognition.
Yes, we do. But I'll just want to add a comment on
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Mr. McGravy does a tremendous job, and the students were fantastic. I stayed for 2 of the sessions myself. I believe all of us were there for one part of the day or another, as well as our select board people and state reps.
Yes, it was great.
It's a wonderful, wonderful program. So, Marcy, we have a present for you. And we want to thank you for all your years of dedicated service to the district, and we have a little token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Honestly, want to thank specifically for the support over the year and the past few months. This is obviously terribly difficult for me, to be honest. I feel like it's so unfortunate that we're not going to have the opportunity to collaborate, because I feel like our collaboration would have led to some great things for the students in this district. To this committee, again, I implore you to listen to the teachers, the administrators, the teaching assistants, to listen to their feedback. The culture in this district, particularly over the past few months, is unhealthy. People don't feel safe. I'm leaving a job that I love and that I thought I was going to have to the end of my career because I don't feel safe and I don't feel supported. And that's terrible to say, but it is the truth of the matter right now. And if you take the time to speak to the people within this district, you're going to hear that a lot. So I implore you to have those conversations with people, because if it's not fixed, we're going to continue to see great people leave. And I don't want to see that happen here. So, you know, in parting, that is my ask. I wish everybody, and I've had many conversations, I wish everybody the best of luck. I mean, I feel strongly that we are a district that was working towards greatness, and we are way, way off course. And we need to get back on course. So I wish, you know, I wish this was a retirement, you know, but it's not. And again, when I came back to North Andover the first time, I had no intentions of ever leaving then, and I had no intentions of ever leaving now. So, but again, I wish everybody good luck. Pam, you're doing an amazing job, and I hope the best for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We hope the
Thanks.
best for you.
Yeah, best of luck. All right. I think that's it for recognition, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so we have a consent agenda minutes from May 9th. Does anyone have any comments on those?
So I move to approve the agenda minutes for May 9th of 2024.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion seconded. Any comments? Okay, then we'll do a vote. Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Moskovich?
Yes.
Ms. Koenig?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. The minutes are approved for May 9th. Okay. Next, we have grants donations.
We have none this week.
None this week. Okay. So now we move to our student representatives report. I will comment that we have two new ones. Are you guys going to talk about them at all? We do have two new ones that have graciously have been selected and have graciously accepted, and we will meet them in 2 weeks' time. So I've reached out to them, and I didn't find out about them until yesterday, so they, you know, obviously this is a little short notice for them to come tonight, but they'll be here in 2 weeks. I copied you guys on the email, so you know, it's okay. So we'll all meet them next time. So go ahead, we have Harper and Cece.
Hello. Yeah, about the student representatives, they are very excited to join us. So I know Louine will be here June 20th. I think Allie might have something planned that day, so we might have to see her next year, but she's very excited and she's very sad that she's missing the meeting, so I think she'll be watching it online right now. Hi, Allie.
All right.
So recently, field days have been happening with some high schoolers volunteering. An example being, I think the Sergeant field day is coming up on the 13th. Senior graduation was last Friday. Congratulations to all the seniors. We're going to miss them very much. I mean, it was weird walking in today and there was no, like, where's a seat for Ben? Next week is finals week for students, so students are getting ready for finals. It's very stressful, but very exciting because it's like after finals, it's just like we're done. Like, it's nice. Student council is planning a Spear Up dress up day on Wednesday. It's going to be a beach vacation themed dress up, and we'll be selling leis on Tuesday for teachers, so students can buy their teachers a lei, and it'll be like competition based, like which teacher can get the most leis. And then on Wednesday, the day of the dress up day, students can go to lunch and buy themselves their own lei, so everyone can rock their attire and have a lei. And we'll also be giving out freeze pops again, like we did at the pep rally day recently. AP classes are starting their meetings for next week to discuss the summer work for students. In advisory this week, students were asked to write goals that they had for the future, which student council displayed today on the wall where they had the sticky note wall with everyone's names written up that said "You are loved." So now we're hanging up, we took down the sticky note wall, and now we're hanging up the goals that students had to reflect the goals students have in the next year by the time they graduate and goals they had in 5 years. And French Honor Society elected their officers with Bradley McGuire as president, Harper Barrios as vice president, and Trom Van as secretary.
The class of 2025, our grade, received their schedules on Wednesday, and guidance has been available starting today to help fix issues and help make changes to schedules as needed. On Monday, the class of 2026 will get their schedules, and then not too long after that, the freshmen will get their schedules. The Stuco banquet was on Monday, and we said goodbye to some of our seniors, Ben Abbott being one of them, and and then the rest of our e-board that were graduating. Drama Guild banquet was tonight. It's still going on right now. That's where I was coming from. And the track banquet was earlier this week, and then tennis and other sports have also had their banquets recently. The Special Olympics is on Friday with athletes competing. Many teachers take their classes up to the track to cheer on athletes, especially the wellness classes. And then students have started to receive their yearbooks. They should get them they should have gotten them today or tomorrow. And 8th grade move-up day is on the 11th with the student ambassadors having volunteering to lead informational tours for the rising freshmen.
All right. I want to add a couple of things. That softball sadly was knocked out of the tournament Tuesday, but their banquet is next week. And baseball, I believe, played today. I don't know if anybody knows how they did, but I was remiss in not mentioning the names of our new members. They are Allie Roberts and Louine Ismail. I think that's pronounced right. So I've been in correspondence with both of them, and I know that I thought they both told me they'll be here. Nope, both of them said they'll be here June 20th. So hopefully we'll see them both. Any comments or questions?
Sorry. I'm not sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. Ladies are fantastic. Number one, you just mentioned AP classes. Was it, and you might not know this with like hard data, but were kids, all the kids that you like sort of think about, like were they able to get into AP classes? Are the kids typically shut out of those, or is like people able to take the APs that they want to take?
It kind of depends. A lot of them, like the more popular APs, depending on like availability for teachers to like teach the number of sections like for students, end up being lottery based, where if they have too many people, like it ends up being random, and then everyone else gets put on a wait list. I know Chem and Bio, both that happens to, and I think Am thought that also happens to in a couple other classes. And then also they're generally, you have to have, I think it's a 90 or above if you're going from like an honors class to an AP class, or it might be a little lower than that. Yeah. Unless it's, I think last year for AP pre-calc, you had to have a 94 or above. And I think that's the only class that's not really lottery based. If there's too many people, it's whoever has the highest grades.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Number two, does student council have anything to do with, you said the student ambassadors with incoming 8th graders, you all help participate in that? Or is that a separate group of kids?
It's a separate group of kids. A lot of people in student council do volunteer to do the tours, but it is a separate club.
I have an idea for you. And I thought of this with graduation and the goals for the future. And I just remembered an activity that we used to do with our freshmen when they came in, is that they would write a letter to themselves at the sort of towards the end of freshman year, and like advice that they would give other ones, but also that like a letter to themselves, like that would be then gave back to them on graduation about where they saw themselves and like how they were grew and all that. And it was just like, it's a good thing. Think about how we could do that. We should talk offline. And then third, and I think you both are great, and I love hearing all the things about the high school, and please don't stop doing that. I do have 2 challenges for you, and for the other 2 members who are coming on. I feel like your role can be much more, and I want you to really think about like how else can you contribute to our conversations. For example, when you talked about the bathrooms, like that was I want more of that. I love hearing about all the things that are happening, so don't get rid of that, any of that. But like, how else can we hear about the culture and the climate and the things that are concerning to kids at the high school? So like, thinking about like how else you can share that. And then second, how might we also get to hear similar things from our other kiddos who are younger than y'all? And I don't know how to make that work, but I would love, like, could we once have a couple kids from Franklin come over and tell us about how things are going at their school, and you work with them to do that? Or then we have some kids coming from the middle school, so we can get more and more stuff from everyone about what their experience is. And I feel like you in your leadership positions might have a way to figure that out. And I don't know how to do it, but I think you could. So that's my challenge to you. Okay.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
But thank you so much for all your hard work this year. You ladies are amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
Thank you both.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. That was good. I like that idea.
Thank
Last idea a
Any
lot.
great summer plans?
In August, I'm going to Korea for 10 days.
Wow.
In August, I'm going to Australia till like the 24th.
Oh my gosh.
And then we're going to
Wow.
like Australia, maybe hit New Zealand, and then Hawaii.
I'm a little bitter and
So-
angry at you.
Yeah, you do know it's the middle of winter there then, right?
Yeah. But like that's perfect weather for me. I don't love it too hot, so.
Okay, I don't
Well,
like
have
any
fun.
of you all.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
great summer.
You too.
Yep, have a
We'll
good
see you
summer.
on the 20th. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. You guys will be here the 20th, correct?
Yeah, we will
Okay.
be.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, we'll start with a budget status update. I want to just preempt that we are still continuing to work with the deficit. We continue to have shortfalls. Everybody is working very hard. You'll see this is very similar to the status report that you saw last 2 weeks ago. Our expenses, we continue to have encumbered and look like we're on track for our expenses. We continue to struggle in the area of salaries, where we're running in a deficit. So we have some bills that we still think we are going to have to deal with, about $30,000 in custodial overtime. That largely comes from user fees. So we rent our facilities to outside organizations to use the facilities, but that user fee does not cover custodial fees. So I think it is something that probably next year the committee should take on, looking at the user fees. And if even our user fees are low, and I feel like I'm the person that says fees, and I don't want to be that person, but it's been a long time since we've looked at user fees. But looking at the user fees, but we also need to, I would think that we might need to build the custodial fee into that. Because we are not collecting enough money to pay for the custodians that are doing that work.
Yep.
That is the custodial overtime deficit of $30,000 that we still have to. Oops. We have one screen that is backwards, so if you're looking
Yeah, this
to my right, it looks backwards.
And those two are both backwards.
That one's fine.
Well, let's look at this one.
Yes.
I certainly, like, we don't want to increase fees. I absolutely agree with that. In terms of, like, especially for outside groups and some that use them, like, we know that might then be prohibitive, and that, or it pushes the expenses then onto the people that they serve. But I think if we need to at least, at the very least, make sure that we are charging for custodians the rate that we pay for them.
Right, and we are not now.
We're not.
We are not
so
now. So that
that's-
is one of the problems.
Yep.
So there we have a $30,000 that we still have to pay for. And then we continue, so last time I told you for each pay period, we were projecting $100,000 in extra hours and substitutes. That also includes noon attendance, long-term subs, and substitutes. We're working really hard to bring that number, and now that the seniors aren't here and a few things, so I'm hoping that comes in a little under $100,000, but we continue to run in a deficit.
Excuse me, Pam, are you
Yes.
looking at Are you looking at the sheet that we see up there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not following where you are on it.
So I am right here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you haven't come to what's above the line yet?
Well, so what's above the line? I just said that we are, in expenses, we are living within our means, but salaries, we continue to run in a deficit.
And is the, I have a question, so the number at the bottom, the 479?
So
you're
the
about
number
to
at the
talk about
bottom
that?
is
Okay.
money that we are still expecting to receive. So we're expecting to receive the 10% from the town, that's $179,809.12, and we still have yet to receive the Amazon money of $300,000, which will offset.
This is fiscal '24,
Yes.
Correct.
which is almost over.
Correct. On Monday, Melissa Rodriguez, Lynn Savage, myself, Janet Wright, our financial consultant, and Tracy, how do I say Tracy's last name?
Kayla.
Michaela, our supervisor of accounts, will be meeting to look at how we're going to address that
So-
number.
Minus,
$804,699.23.
right. I'm happy to round it off to the nearest column. So that's the amount that
We're
we're in
in,
deficit.
correct.
But haven't we already worked out with the manager ways of addressing most of this?
We have, but we continue, that was sort of, the problem is that the bills keep coming in, right? So if you had a bill in April, you're going to have it in May and June and July. And we are still paying for long-term substitutes. So we still have bills. And we are still running in a deficit. So the money that we've already shifted the money from town meeting over. And this is where we are right now. We still.
Sorry, the money from town meeting.
The
You
1.5
mean
million,
right.
the money from FinCom, the money from,
Oh, yes, okay.
yes.
So is the 800, but all those
This is money-
contribute to the 804, do they not?
We've already used it.
So the 804 already includes all the money shifted from town meeting?
With the exception of the 10% from the town and the Amazon funds.
Right, so
So
the
that-
actual.
Oh, I see, okay.
Right, so right now,
I get it.
I'm not, let me just, I think I can get to the quickly to the point. Right now, the amount we need to come up with is the 804 minus the 479.
Correct.
Right?
Which is 324.
Yeah, so that's the challenge to us.
Correct.
Correct.
That is
Still
slightly
by the
lower
end.
than
And I
last
think,
week, last
yes, it's a little bit lower, but I think the town, we're not exactly at the same number, so we're going to compare our sheets on
Okay.
Monday.
So that's the real number we were worried about, right?
Correct.
For lack of a better way to put it, the 324.
What
Okay.
is the town 10%? Is that
That is, they put a curb on spending.
For everybody
For
else.
everybody else, and that's what they're
Okay.
expecting revenue they'll be able to provide to us.
Yeah, okay, I get it.
Yep, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep, thanks.
So then, I can share with you a little bit about the voluntary VSIP, Voluntary Separation Incentive Program. That is a mouthful that I've still been learning how to say. So as you know, in early May, Town Manager Melissa Rodriguez proposed an idea that could help us in the school district to avoid layoffs, as well as the liability for the town with unemployment. This is not in your package. This is just an update. So our employees were offered a monetary incentive based on their work group to leave voluntarily to give up their rights to unemployment. Prior to the introduction of this incentive program, we talked to you about layoffs. I think we originally were calling it option 1 or option A and option B to address the budget shortfall for FY25. The layoffs that we talked about were 16 teaching assistants, 5.5 teachers, and 1 administrative assistant. We had hoped that we would receive enrollment for that number of people in those work groups. The enrollment window for the VSIP was opened on May 15th to June 15th. We did decide to close the window 2 weeks early on May 31st because the response was so strong. In all, we had 62 employees who applied, 34 teaching assistants, 24 teachers, 3 administrators, and 1 administrative assistant. We were able to award this VSIP incentive to 32 employees. So 17 teaching assistants, 13 teachers, 1 administrator, and 1 administrative assistant.
Able to, meaning that's when the 700,000 ran out?
Correct. We went over a little bit, and it works with us.
Okay.
Employees within each group were selected based on their seniority and their years of service in North Andover per the MOA that we signed with that the school committee signed with the union. We had anticipated, if we had done Plan A with strictly just eliminating the 16 teaching assistants, 5.5 teachers, and 1 administrative assistant, we had anticipated a savings of $943,228. But by doing this program, the VSIP, it allowed us to, as people left, it also allowed us to do some reorganization within our own organization. And we also had some teacher attrition that we weren't going to fill, that those people didn't participate. So with all of that together, we now estimate our savings at $1,549,883.92.
Was it 1.5 what?
1549.
So 1.5. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and the original savings on
Was
option A was,
943.
so that means if I understand you right, there's $550,000 more or less of what we might highly technically call wiggle room.
We might. That said, I am optimistic it's wiggle room. I'm also not, I don't know exactly what FY25 looks like, and we need to make sure that all the salaries are accounted for. And I'll know better. Now that this program is done, we can move forward with getting the FY25 budget in order and looking at where the salaries. The other thing that we are waiting for until tomorrow is the applicants who did not receive this incentive. We informed them today, and they have 24 hours to let us know if they would like to rescind. That was part of their offer. So if they didn't get it, they have time to rescind their resignation, or we will consider that resignation a true resignation.
That's only fair.
Correct. But that could also give us some opportunity, if those people don't come back, to look at what those positions are and how we might reorganize.
What was roughly the average teacher salary of the people who departed? More or less.
From the teachers, I would say it was somewhere between maybe 85 and 100.
Because the reason I asked, that one of the things that persuaded me this was a good idea was that if we had to rely on layoffs, we would have had to lay off roughly twice as many people.
Correct.
So in a way, this is a very good outcome.
Correct. So we are not anticipating laying off any teaching assistants because we met what we needed to. Through the teachers, what's tricky is that the teachers that maybe are receiving the incentive are not teachers that we cannot not bring back because of their positions. But we, as I said, through the reorganization and some of that pieces, we are not anticipating, at this point, I can say I'm not anticipating laying off any teachers, but we will be doing some reorganization, and that not everybody knows about that, what that looks like yet.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that you need some time to sort of work this all out, of course, and that at some point you'll come back to us and say, this is what I propose, and then we vote on it.
Correct. So next,
Okay,
as I said, next Monday, we're meeting to talk about the budget. On Wednesday, the leadership team is meeting again to really finalize teaching positions where people may be moving. So this doesn't mean that people aren't necessarily moving within the district, moving to a different school. And certainly for our teaching assistants, it's a reassignment because, let's say predominantly they came from school X. I'm not going to take them all from there.
I just one clarifying question.
Sure.
On that. So we're saving over $1.5 million. Is that before or after we pay out the $750,000? So we pay out the $750,000 and then we save. So it's a net gain of $750,000. I think I just confused myself.
Correct.
Correct. I confused myself.
That's already
$700,000 comes from the town.
correct.
Right. So then
as far
our
as
budget
the
can.
committee is concerned, the saving is
Thank you
gross,
very much.
not-
I now I understand everything now.
Yep.
It's the full.
Yes, I had that question myself several times, so I have to deduct 700,000, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't
Thank you.
think so either.
This is
So could I have a request? when you finally work this out,
Mhm.
what was submitted to us, I think it was called the FY25
Revised.
revised budget, had a number for 25 of something like $64 million. And then it had to be lower, and then there was this whole bunch of adjustments,
Correct.
some of which were spending cuts and some of which were revenue.
Correct.
So when the dust settles, and I understand you need some time to do this, could we have a sort of, we're going to have a total of expenditures,
Correct.
and that total is going to be higher than voted at town meeting because the town, well, if you go back to that sheet, I took,
The budget is going to be what we voted at town meeting. It's going to be 62 million, X amount of things. What's going to, it extracts the, I think the budget was 64,
no, I
right?
understand.
Okay.
I understand, but what I saw was that some of the spending, I don't mean this as a criticism, but we were going to spend more than the 62 million because some of them, because of revenue that between the manager and the finance committee, they promised we could use.
That was FY24 money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
We're not getting any extra for
So this is
FY25.
about-
Well,
It was.
I'm thinking of the FY25. I guess all I'm saying is, if there's a situation where we're going to spend more than that because of revenue they make available to us, then I'd like to have some sort of writing from them authorizing it.
They're not
The-
giving us any more
No,
money.
so
I'll
you-
take it if you can
we-
get that. That'd be great.
I voted on 64, but you take out the.
Yeah,
You said
we don't need to go
utilities.
through that.
I think I do.
But when I added it up, it
But
added up to more
But I-
63.
But the
I'd like to
1.5
talk
million
about
was
two.
FY24.
Yeah, I'd like to clear something up, Ed. We authorized in January the 64. We know we were taking out some maintenance stuff, which brought it down to 62. The problem with fiscal year 25 was that we were projected to be over by 2.7. This is helping us bring down that number significantly, along with some other stuff that you had already identified to
Correct.
get our number back down to only the 62 million.
Correct.
This is about solving the already projected deficit.
Correct.
All I'm saying is that on that sheet, some of the adjustments to get down to the 62 involved revenue from the town and some involved spending cuts.
Not revenue from the town.
But
I think I know what you're talking about. I think that on that sheet, it might have said 300, that like the Amazon money, we anticipated getting it again. They're going to give us opioid money, 1,000 of I know that's what you're talking about. But
Yes.
that money is to still get us to 62. But I understand what you're talking about.
so all I'm saying is, if there is such money,
Yep.
and if we are authorized to spend more, that we have a total spending, and then we can say, this much is from town meeting, and this, and this are from these specific sources.
Yeah. So
If there's none, that's none, but
Yeah.
if there is, then
Yep.
I'd like to see the total.
I understand, and I think,
Right.
so like the opioid money, we pulled money out of, like at the SEL or some of the work we do there, like a counselor, and so it's going to be paid through that, so that's why it doesn't run in our salary. So I understand, I think I know what you want.
Okay, thank you.
I guess one way to summarize would be any expenses that come outside of the 62
Yep,
should be identified,
Yep.
and how they get paid for should be identified. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, and to the extent that somebody else in town is offered to pay for it, they should offer it in writing.
and I think we have that from Melissa, but I
Oh,
understand
good.
what you're saying,
Okay, thanks.
I think.
Thank you.
And some of it may be, well, yeah, it's there. I was
Yep.
gonna say grants too, but that's always been the case.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, actually, grants are confusing. Are grants that are specific never come on, they don't count as spending against the budget, right?
They don't count as spending against the budget, but I do think that what we want to do is share with you, and you'll hear a little bit about that tonight, but I think maybe going forward, what we want to do is talk about when we present a budget, maybe this is FY26, or maybe it could be still FY25. We don't have the grants necessarily for next year yet. But we do want to, I think it's important that we show you and the town the things that we're doing that are grant funded, that are outside the general budget.
Right.
And you're
Yeah.
gonna see a little bit of that tonight.
Okay, perfect, right, because that's,
fine,
I think,
right.
a
But-
big point, that's a big point of confusion for me often,
Right.
right? Like, this is a grant-funded thing versus so what we should get ultimately is, here's our budget number and how that
Right.
works out, and then here's other things we
Right.
spend money on and how they're paid
Right.
for. That, I think,
Yeah,
would
so like,
really
so the directors that are here tonight, so when we did our budget for next year, FY '25, for curriculum, we don't have our titles, our federal grants yet. So we know that our budget is $400,000 for next year, so what we showed the principals the other day is these are the things that we're moving forward in terms of curriculum for next year. They equal up to $400,000. If we're fortunate enough to receive some of these grants, then we can do some other things, but right now, this is the only thing that we're projecting going forward with.
Okay, and then, so the Amazon money is sort of odd, isn't it? That's money that they give to the town.
Correct, and the town gives to us.
So that would be an example of something that we are allowed to spend above the appropriation.
It's not above the appropriation.
It's solving the
It's-
projected deficit.
Well, but
It
if,
pays for something. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we're kind of saying the same thing.
okay,
Yeah.
because it's just easier thinking about making sure we stay within the budget next year.
Right,
If we have an overall
Yeah.
spending number that we can all look at, say,
yeah.
this is what we have to be careful to spend
So,
at an appropriate
What I
rate.
can say to you for next year is, it was looking so lean going into FY '25 that we had $100,000 to spend on curriculum that we would typically spend. So we've already appropriated next year's Amazon money to the curriculum budget in order to make it be the $400,000 to be able to pay for what we need. But we will show that to you, so you see that in our presentation. It's helpful to know what you're looking for.
So is it like a grant then? It's not, doesn't count against the 62? Or it does count?
No, only the 100,000, you're right, only the 100,000 counts against the 62. We're taking the 300,000 in order to, you're right, so it would be above the 62.
Right.
But it's treated as a grant.
It's not a grant, that's money that,
Okay, so then, in that case, that's what I had in mind. The town can write to you, say, Madam Superintendent, we're happy to announce that this $300,000 the school committee can spend.
Right. Ultimately, it would be lovely to have it presented like, here's our
Yep.
budget.
Yep.
Here's our grants. Here's our, any excess money and where it all goes.
Yep.
So we have one view of the whole thing.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think what all this is boiling down to.
Although, I'm not sure you necessarily want the school committee to have to approve every. at
No,
least
just
no,
to
not
see it.
approved, but just so you see, so you're
Oh, yeah,
aware.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
the
yeah,
town
right.
should be aware. I think people, the
Yes.
community should be
Actually,
aware.
that's a very good point, I agree with you.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I just want to make a
Yes.
comment too that, although this program with the stipends was successful, it's still very disheartening that we're even in this position. And I'm remembering these people that are put down as numbers are people with families.
They absolutely are.
And I hate that we're in this position as a district. So like I said, even though it was successful, it's very still a solemn thing to think about that this is what we're in. And it's our hope as a committee in a district that we can improve things in the future to never be in this position again.
It's a really good point, and I don't want to give anybody false hopes that everything is okay. And because these are still lost positions.
Yeah.
That we won't have, and it's a reorganization, and it's a lot of hard work on the behalf of the district leaders and on the teachers, and within the schoolhouse. And there's a lot. I have been visiting the schools and talking to them about this. The teachers have, as Marcy has shared, the teachers have a lot of questions. They have a lot of concerns. It means reorganization of looking at what a schedule of a schoolhouse might look like, but sometimes out of some difficult times do come some better solutions. But you're absolutely right. These are people, and this is going to be a challenge for us.
And on that note, taking into consideration Marcy's comments, if you could maybe give us feedback on how we can let our staff, our faculty, our administration know that we're here to support them, I think we would all welcome that, because we want to let them know that even though this is a difficult time, and as Marcy put it, morale is down. We want to be there for people. We want things to improve. We want people to feel like this is a place they want to be. And whatever you can suggest that we can do to kind of help facilitate that, I think we'd appreciate that.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more. That would help all of us in the committee do a better job. So yeah, by all means.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have our.
Not quite yet.
Not quite
So
yet.
I just wanted, I'll get to that. I'm trying to stick on agenda today, on
Yep.
time.
Thank you.
So I just want to give you an update about the Chromebook policy that or the Chromebook thoughts that we had last week that I shared. So I'm glad I shared that up in our budget presentation because it did raise a lot of questions. I received some questions, some from family members. I think some of you may have received some questions. Our teaching association, they raised some questions. And so Mike Grant and I were able to sit with our union representation, hear some of the things that were concerning, and we were able to work together to come up with what we believe are a better solution. So what that would mean is in kindergarten, our kindergarten students would have 10 Chromebooks and a charging station that are located in each classroom. And the teachers are going to be able to coordinate with each other if they need to have more than 10. In grades 1 through 5, we are recommending continuing to use or moving to a cart. So every one cart of Chromebooks would be allocated for every 2 classrooms. Again, teachers could work together if they needed to be able to have more. What we really heard loud and clear was that 6 through 12 really relies greatly on the one-to-one program and the concern for equity if we had moved to a BYOD or bring your own device. So we were able, through doing this, 6 through 12 would continue to maintain the one-to-one Chromebook program. We would provide each student with a personal Chromebook and a charger for educational use. What we'll bring back to you on the 20th is a first read for a technology fee that we would like to charge our students in grades 6 through 12 only, a $25 technology fee that would cover the costs associated with the student one-to-one Chromebook program. This fee is not, and I'll sort of go through it and then might answer some of your questions. This fee is not intended as an insurance against loss or damage. And then obviously if a student or family wasn't able to pay that $25, we would waive that, and we're not going to give it if they don't pay it. We're going to try our best, if you agree, to collect the $25 technology fee. If a Chromebook is lost, the student or the guardians are responsible for the replacement of that Chromebook, which is where we're putting that at $250, which is lower than what probably a regular Chromebook would cost. If the Chromebook is stolen, we'd like to say that in the event of a theft, parents or guardian must file a police report within 5 days. If not, we will consider it lost, and they will still be responsible for the $250. So they have to supply a police report. If a charger's not working, and that happens sometimes, they just will pass it in, and we'll be able to replace that. We know that sometimes that happens. But if it becomes lost, we're suggesting we charge $25 for a lost Chromebook. And then on the back are just some ways for students to take care of their Chromebooks. One of the things that teachers were very forthcoming about is that they don't believe the students are being as mindful and as careful with their Chromebooks as they could be. Part of that $25 is like repair. We spend a lot of money and a lot of manpower repairing Chromebooks. And so we're going to provide some ways to take care of, and just on supply lists, the way you would maybe have pencils and pens, we're going to ask parents to supply a a cover, a case for the Chromebook, for the one-to-one Chromebook. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for gently reminding me to be quiet before. I do need it sometimes. I'm being genuine about that. Thank you for going back to this. We did hear our community chat some concerns about this, and I appreciate the administration's going back to it and figuring out an even better solution. Thank you. In terms of, I had them, I lost it. Should we just be specific in terms of like saying 5 school days for people? Or 5 business days or 5 calendar days, just so we don't get tripped up. Just because.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, is there a way we can? In my where I work, we do have insurance available for people to purchase at a very reasonable rate. Can we look into that they can opt into that if they would want? It's like $10 or $15 additional you pay for, and that's a separate
I think
thing.
we did look at that. We decided
not a
we
good
would
idea?
rather go with the technology fee. We will still cover all the repairs of the of the computer as opposed to getting into a second party insurance. That's why we're saying this is not an insurance or
Okay.
loss of damage.
So in a sense, we're self-insured.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, do we have any programs at either the middle or the high school where we can start getting kids to know how to do some of those repairs and fix things that are more simple? I've seen it happen at the school,
they
middle school I'm
probably
at. So
do. A lot of it
do.
is really about care. It's really
Yeah.
about having a sleeve, putting it in their backpack. Right now, it's not being put in their backpack appropriately, throwing the backpack on the ground. And lots of kids take care of their Chromebooks, but there are some that don't. And we also will talk to administration about following policies when there is destruction of property, because,
Absolutely.
that is one of the problems. If we spent a lot of money on repairing things that are probably repairs that we shouldn't have to do if we were caring better for the Chromebooks.
How many Chromebooks are on a cart? When you say one cart,
A class,
like
25.
20, okay.
And I don't think it's on here, but the other thing that we're going to do is make sure that the libraries have an appropriate amount of computers in the library for students, because they use that in order for research and also for checking out books and looking up books. So that we will make sure the libraries are staffed appropriately.
Is this networked, so if a student goes?
Yep.
Okay, so she can do the work in the library and that?
Yep.
Cool.
I wonder if we can come up with some sort of incentive program for the students to take better care of them, some,
Like a pizza.
like a pizza.
carrot instead of stick.
Maybe something to work with student councils. Maybe we can talk to our high school students that were here
Yeah.
about helping us. And really, I think it is about educating the students and helping them understand. And I think, parents want to help us as well. We've often heard from parents when something's broken, like, they'll feel bad, and we haven't had, the $25 fee will help us be able to handle that and to get all of the, the Google accounts that we need for all the students.
I remember the first thing. I think it was the most important. Do we need to? When would we ideally want to communicate this to parents? As soon as possible, I imagine, right?
As soon as possible. I think
So
we
if
would
we
want
don't
to.
do this, if we do a first read on the 20th, is it too
I'm
late?
not too worried about the $25
Okay.
fee. I think that will come out in the summertime. So what we are going to move forward. I think, I guess what we want to hear is that this new plan has any more concerns for folks. We did run it through our union representation. They felt comfortable with this. They worked on this plan with us. I think what we really heard was that 6 through 12 really needed one-to-one, and this
Right.
allows 6 to
Thank
12
you.
to continue to have one-to-one.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to ask, would it be important for us to encourage people to come give feedback to us, if parents and other community members at the June 20th meeting? And
Sure.
would we be in a position, would we want to, I don't know, with that much warning for people to do a waive the rules and do it, and just vote on it then so that we can get the ball rolling? I don't know.
Well, if we didn't, I think it's later on in the meeting, we'll discuss when our next meeting is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still before school starts.
Correct.
Before, could
Correct.
be added to lists.
And I
school
think
lists
we'll
and
work
things.
on a formal document that we
Okay.
can send to families, and then how we're going to collect the money and that kind of stuff.
But if we do want people to give us feedback, then we need to.
It really
inform them
should
that
be
they
at
should
the
come
next meeting.
June 20th to give that feedback.
Right, or send an email.
Or an email.
Or an email, yeah. I did get some email about, by the way, I did get some email about this, but it's lined up with what you said. It
Yeah.
was all
Yeah.
people who, actually, everyone I got was of high school, not middle. It was all 9 through 12.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
It
Thank you.
seems like a really cool idea. We've been talking about cost, but you have comments about how it's helpful to kids? For
Well,
example?
one-to-one, so we think one-to-one is really helpful in 6 through 12. They really utilize Google Classroom, so the students are able to, even if they're absent from school, they're able to see the work that's being done in their classroom. They
You
can,
mean remotely?
yes.
Oh, that's,
They have their homework assignments. Teachers, some teachers who are absent are able to give some lesson plans that students can access through their Chromebooks. So, the one-to-one program works really well in 6 through 12. And then in the elementary grades, I think, some of the things, not that, North Andover Moms is the best, is where I get all my information, but I do get some. But a lot of parents in the elementary seemed like they were happy that their student may not have complete access to a Chromebook all the time. And we feel as though I talked to our directors about ST Math and any of the other programs that we are able to handle that within school time. So, we feel like it's, there is benefit to the computer. We saw that through COVID. Google really helps because you can work on a document. What's really nice is that a student can be working on a document, a teacher can see it in real time, can give feedback in real time, which is great.
Can students choose to have students critique each other's work?
Absolutely.
Well, that's neat.
Yep.
There's a hidden benefit actually of not having BYOD, right? Because now you have just one, you're standardized.
We have the
right?
standardized. BYOD can be challenging, and we really wanted to make sure that we were, we talk a lot about equity and making sure that everybody has the same thing and that all of our kids have access. I do think this was a really good example of us trying to deal with a budget issue, is where it came from, sort of doing a first pass. And then people who work directly with students, having an opportunity to share some information, us to being able to come to the table in a really supportive, collegial way, come up with something, and I think, people feel good about this.
I assume we don't need to buy new ones every year.
We don't, but we do have to, right now, we buy some new
course.
ones. But this will allow us to have enough replacements to be able to replace them if we have to. We're moving away from one-to-one in the elementary.
And does a student have to turn her Chromebook in June, even though she's going to get another one back in
We are
September?
turning them all in this year so that the technology department can reallocate. At least they're going to be working with the building principals to do that, especially in the elementary, because we're
seems like
moving
a
to the
good
cart.
idea.
Yes.
But then if they want to, they can still access those accounts from their own device?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
More or less, how much does it cost us to do this?
I don't know.
Seems like a good idea, though.
It fits within the budget because our technology director's budget was drastically reduced, pretty much to zero. So this is.
I noticed that, but it said he offered to.
He took another $40,000 off of something else because he was really strategic, and he went and he looked at. So one of the things was we maintain a fax line predominantly for things like prescriptions, but Google, we have all HIPAA compliant Google, and so we are discontinuing the fax line. We still had some hotspots that we had given out during COVID that weren't active, or were active but not being used, so we discontinued that. He went and looked at all of our phone lines, some lines that weren't being, and was able to pull back on that. Mike has done a really great job in terms of some work that we probably should have done, but we were busy, but going and looking to see where he could.
Excellent.
Okay.
It's going to be a lot of work getting all those stickers off those Chromebooks.
Sure is. That's why Mr. Grant always says, no stickers on the Chromebooks, please.
I
Always.
think one of the challenges for the teachers will be, I know in elementary school, at least with the Atkinson kiddos, like ST Math or whatnot, those things became the standard homework assignments every night, so now we'll have to rethink with that. It's a good time to have that conversation about
Good time to have the
purpose of
conversation.
and
Yep.
and the assignment of homework and what's appropriate and how
Yep.
long and why do we do it. And I think it's a good time to talk in theory about the
Yep.
purpose of homework and stuff and what we want to get out of that now that we're making this change.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So now we're going to move to the fun part of the evening. So the next presentation, I'm going to invite Ben Cabrera and Kara Larkham and Kristen Endo to join us at the table. So this is what we're calling a celebration, and I really hope that you will see this as a celebration this evening. This is an opportunity. I'm just going to walk over here for a second. This is an opportunity for us to share with you some of the great work that has been done. I took a little bit of time and went back and reflected on some of the superintendent's goals that were presented in the beginning of the year, and I think that you will find that a lot of the things that are shared tonight directly match some of the goals that we set forth in the beginning of the school year. And I want to just share this with you. It's a little hokey, but just forgive me for a minute. So one of the first activities I did with the directors and our coaches, so that I don't have the coaches one, but it's in my office, so our curriculum team, when I first met with them, it's called a collective resume. And I had given them some questions that I asked them to do and sort of go off and do this. And so basically one of the questions was, how many years of experience do you have as a team? So you see these three directors sitting here for you, Ben, Kara, and Kristen. So collectively they have 65 years of experience. Between the three of them, they hold 8 degrees in early childhood, special education, there's 2, the school leadership, chemistry, secondary education, and industrial engineer. They're between the three of them, they have a BS, a BA, an MED, and a CAG. There's CAGs. These 3 people have taught pre-K, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade, college and graduate school. They believe that you make your next step your best step. Some of the things that I asked them were like sort of what's your mission, what drives you, and they said create conditions to dismantle inequities, making classrooms optimum space for adults and student growth. But we all know that you don't just get to these degrees. So over the time, these 3 people, I won't tell you who, but some have been an electrical and a plumbing apprentice, a camp counselor, a daycare assistant, a Cutco knife seller, a cake baker, an ice cream scooper, an office temp, a college professor, a software designer and development, a waitress, an RA, I think that's like in college, and a server. In age range, they age between the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They are parents, and they have.
You can guess who.
They are parents, and they have children. They have 7 children between the 3 of them, but not together. You know what I mean?
Grammar matters.
A little more than we need to know.
And their children age from age 1 to 25. But I think it's just a really excellent exercise. Just I want you to see a wealth of experience that's sitting in front of you tonight.
Thank you.
So tonight they have a wonderful presentation to share with you. We've worked a lot on this. What you're going to hear is the number 3. I've asked them to really focus on 3 things that they believe in their work this year that they really want to highlight for you. We have provided you with some sticky notes. So if there are questions or things that pop into your mind as you're listening to them, we encourage you to jot that down on the sticky note. We'll probably collect those. Some might be questions that we'll go back and use at another time. There's certainly time for questions at the end. But I'm going to ask that you let us get through the whole presentation. And I know that's tricky, and so sometimes a sticky note can help for that time. But again, I just want to remind you that this is a celebration of the work that we have done in North Andover this year. Yes, Mr. Hicks.
I'm going to apologize up front. I have a similar role to yours, and I'm going to need to go do my own presentation to the Holliston School Committee at some point tonight. So
Are you the fun part of the evening?
I don't know yet. Depends how the other things go. But so if I have to step out, it's not because I don't like you and want to hear your stuff, but I have to go quickly do my part of that, and then I will be back. So I apologize. I hope they're running behind, and or that chair took things out of order, and we go later than we anticipated on that side, so I can hear all the wonderful things you have to say. So I deeply apologize about having to do that. But I had to do that so I could be here for as much of this as possible and not be driving. So.
And I don't want to panic anybody. Mr. Grant has shared with us that they're not collecting Chromebooks 6 through 12. They're just collecting in the elementary so they can reallocate the carts. So everybody that's panicked right now, please relax.
Thank you, Pam.
The first word is light.
Yep. That's when texting has become a good thing. All right. So I turn it over to these 3 amazing humans.
And I think some of your special effects may not work.
I know.
So I'm
It's okay.
sorry.
We're
Oh,
having
really?
some sharing. We didn't want you to have to listen to our voices the entire.
Do you want
so
me
we
to get
have
my computer?
we have some student. Well, I think we'll be able to play enough of them to.
Okay.
We have some student and teacher voices in our presentation, which are absolutely amazing. And so, but that just popped up on Marcy's computer that there are permissions problems. So we will do the best we can.
Okay.
The power of 3. This is our team. Thank you, Pam, for that introduction.
You're
That's
welcome.
amazing. It is amazing working for Pam. It is amazing.
With
And
Pam.
we have the best jobs on earth because we get to talk about teaching and learning all day, every day. Like, our jobs are to support principals and teachers, teach kids to learn things, and it is the most amazing job. So it is amazing to be with you here tonight. We are glad to be the fun part of the evening, right? Exactly. And so that's awesome. And so welcome to us and welcome to the team, and we're so glad you're here to celebrate with us. Of course, everything we do on the curriculum team is aligned to the objectives from the strategic plan. Those objectives being consistent and rigorous curriculum, yay curriculum, equity for all students, yay equity, and targeted professional practice. And so we consider our work on our team a narrowing of those goals depending on subject matter, student age, subject area, where, that's sort of, so that the idea that everything is aligned to the objectives of our strategic plan. And we make this abundantly clear to our educators all the time so that they know why they're doing what they're doing. Excellent. So the three things I'm going to talk to you about tonight are three of our major initiatives that we have going on in the humanities department. So humanities, ELA, social studies, history, ESL, for the most part, pre-K to 12. The first one is our Wit and Wisdom leadership teams, or our teacher leader teams in general. We have adopted and rolled out an amazing teacher leader model. We have incredible teacher leaders here who have been out in front with some high quality instructional material. So I'm really excited to share that with you with our new resource for ELA, which is Wit and Wisdom, in the past 2 years. The one in the middle there is a multi-tiered system of support, MTSS. You'll hear that a lot. We're working a lot on the idea of how do we meet the needs of all kids. All kids deserve the best education we can give them, and how do we meet those needs, and how do we assess students to know that they're moving the direction we want them to go in. And my third initiative in the humanities department is with investigating history and a genocide education grant that we recently received, and we're doing some work with in grades 5 to 12 with these two things. And so that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. We have adopted a big three. Again, you notice three of us. And so the idea that this is where we've been and where we're going. So that's the history of our literacy curriculum vision, but also just our vision in general. So in 2021, you see our big three went to phonemic awareness, phonics, and connected text to align with the science of reading. Our big three in 22-23 were about the three shifts in the ELA standards. And then last year, our big three were rooted in equity. The curriculum drives equity, effective resources maintain rigor, and analyzing student work, improve student outcomes. That was rooted in the executive summary from Unbound Ed. And then you'll see going forward our big three for this year that I'll share with you in more detail. Again, all of these things are informed, you can see on the top there, by our strategic plan, by our landscape analysis from one of our partners, Rivet Education, and the special education and the equity process reviews. And so everything, we take the feedback that we have about our instruction, we apply it, and then drive forward in our mission. We're really proud that we've developed these mission and vision statements with teachers and with educators and with principals over the course of the last. So this is where we've been and where we're going. This is a big one. So my friends, this is the HQIM grant, HQIM, and everybody confuses it to HQMI because of that chord. But HQIM, High Quality Instructional Materials. This is grant 2185 that we were granted over a 2-year period. The amounts are there in FY 23 and 24. Proud to say that most of this grant funded our resource, Wit and Wisdom, which is a high quality instructional resource, and teacher stipends. So we talked a lot about these teacher leadership teams. So we had 3 major leadership teams. One was the implementation team, and that was a group of teachers who were willing to adopt these resources and be out in front with this work. And so they became model teachers in their building. So we were able to give them some additional PD. They were able to give PD to the people in their buildings, but also when somebody had a question about the curriculum, they could come to this teacher and say, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me? And so that's the team up at the top. The resource team was a team that worked on making all of our materials accessible to all different students, so creating scaffolds so that all students, multilingual learners, students on IEPs, students who just may have less knowledge about whatever particular topic we're studying would have some resources. So we had a team of teachers that was our think tank for like resource support. And our third one was our assessment team, and that was a group of teachers, our biggest group of teachers, who one teacher from each grade level, when they ran protocols to look at student work. And so we could assess how things were going. We deeply believe that all students are our students, so this idea that these three teams worked together, and we put the coaches on the outside because the coaches sat on all the teams and then supported all the teams across schools. So super proud of our educator leadership this year. This is an example from the resource team, and I'm not sure the clip is going to work, but what you can see here is a way that Wit and Wisdom, our resource, uses text that's generally at or above grade level. And so there's many ways. This is an example of a teacher, two of our teachers. If you could click where it says Wit and Wisdom resource team, the blue dot, I'm not sure it's going to go, but we'll try it. No, oh, bummer. Is that good? So if it's two of our teachers.
Work the students are doing in the classroom. These supports have helped us create access points for all students to our Tier 1 materials.
For example, in Module 2, when learning about space, an anchor text we study is Starry Night. This story uses figurative language to teach students about Galileo. This can create challenges for multilingual learners because they are still learning the literal vocabulary and need to be explicitly taught how the English language uses these same words in non-literal ways to convey a different idea. The student support in Lesson 6 helped us provide structured and explicit quotes from the text where the author used figurative language, and it guided the students to try to understand the non-literal meaning.
This supported practice led to students' growth in their understanding, so much so they were able to use phrases like, Galileo was born with stars in his eyes, in their own writing.
We'll play a fun game. Guess what grade?
Sixth.
Thank you. I was hoping for that response. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Third. Exactly, yes. So we have third graders. Yes, exactly. Who are talented enough to be multilingual that are also talking about literal and non-literal meanings in text. And so really exciting stuff. Pam, great workaround with the sound. So excited about that. And so, again, those are Lindsay Connolly and Katie Chambers, two of our amazing teachers who work together. Katie is our ESL expert. Lindsay is a general educator, and the two of them have both sit on our leadership team and have really taught us a lot about how to use these materials with all students. All students are our students, so thank you. Awesome. The other team I talked to you about is the assessment team. So these teams had protocols where they sat with groups of teachers, generally smaller groups of teachers, 3 to 5 teachers, at least once a month to look through to look at student work, determine needs, plan small groups. And so I'm not sure if it's who's going to play it, but when we asked...
protocol helped provide us a structure for looking at student work. We were able to analyze our students' current strengths and needs and adjust our instruction moving forward to target patterns and the needs we saw in their writing. We saw evidence of our shifts in their next focusing question task.
Awesome. So that was one of our teachers when we asked, how did these protocols help you? That was the response. And this is the implementation team. So this is the team I talked about. These are people who came on board, our early adopters, and they worked with students in order to, and their fellow teachers in order to effectively use this resource. When we asked students at the end of the day, like what feels different about using these resources, or what have you learned this year, this is what they said.
I've learned so much about how artists like Alvin Ailey and William Carlos Williams get inspired to create art. I want people to know that learning in this way makes learning fun and is something educational that I can enjoy.
I want people to know that learning in this way allows me to talk and explain about the things I've learned to my family and friends. I've learned so much about people who explore the sea like Jacques Cousteau and discover that the vast sea is both beautiful and dangerous. Now, I'm able to really understand changes in our world because I can read biographies and challenging nonfiction texts.
I've learned so much about the Statue of Liberty and how it symbolizes freedom for immigrants who chose or were forced to leave their homeland. Now I'm able to understand the meaning of a piece of art by noticing and wondering. I want people to know that learning in this way helps me learn about the world outside of my comfort zone. I want people to know that learning in this way helps me make connections to other topics or everyday life. Now I'm able to find evidence in a text and use it to answer a question. I do this by remembering go back to the text. I've learned so much about great people who made an impact or change in our world. For example, I learned about Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins exploring the moon on the Apollo 11 mission. Now I'm able to organize my knowledge and thinking about a text so I can write explanatory essays, opinion pieces, and narrative stories.
Don't I have the best? Well, we have the best job in the whole world. And so we are the fun part of the evening, right? Exactly. And so second and third grade students talking about their work. Pam, I think if you click on the book that says The Little Yellow Leaf, there may be a little more, but I'm not quite sure.
Oh, I got it. Oh, you got that one.
Ah.
I do not.
Oh, wait, I have it.
I think you would say.
In the beginning of second grade, I learned about fall through the different stories. And my favorite book from that unit was The Little Yellow Leaf.
What did you like about that?
That it was about sometimes you just need a friend to go with. One of the things that I've learned in second grade is about healthy foods. One of the examples is that broccoli is vitamin A and vitamin B. Good Enough to Eat is the book I've learned that in.
So Wit and Wisdom, as you know or may not know, is a knowledge-building curriculum. So kids study deeply about the digestive system, or we'll study a unit very deeply about immigration. And so that's what you hear. And, really young kids are learning very important concepts. But the fun doesn't stop in K-5, my friends. We have seventh graders that are also diving deeply into this work. This is their essential question about the power of language, and they read things by Maya Angelou and Martin Luther King and everything else. And I'm not sure if this will play, but when we asked seventh graders to tell us about some of the work on this
Alex.
slide.
And I'm Mari, and we would like to share a bit about what we have been working on in ELA. Throughout this unit, The Power of Language, we studied a variety of poems and speeches, including Caged Bird by Maya Angelou, I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr., and Malala's 13th birthday speech in the UN, and looked at how these poets and speakers made these words inspiring. We studied how the poet delivered the speech and what techniques they used, and also how they wrote the poem and what structure they used. After each text, we had the opportunity to select the most inspiring line and write it on our own inspirational cue.
You can see mine pictured on the right. My favorite poem we read was Bee by Sarah Kay. It was about all the things that she would teach her future daughter, and she used lots of metaphors and similes. I liked this because she described obstacles and challenges in a way that made it more relatable. My favorite line from it was, "But getting the wind knocked out of you is the only way to remind your lungs how much they like the taste of air."
My favorite poem we studied was Hope is the Thing with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. This poem is about a bird that will sing in the middle of a storm no matter what challenges it faces. I found this inspirational because it showed me to never lose hope or give up. One of my favorite lines that represents that is, "And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm."
We wrote these lines on our inspiration cubes and did an activity where we could discuss their impact with our classmates.
Good stuff, right? Exactly. And so we were listening to these clips and crying in the office because it's beautiful. And the teacher admitted the same thing. If you go to the next line, there's more seventh grade work. Again, the continuation of the Power of Language unit. And when we asked the seventh graders what they wanted us to know, this is what they said.
Hi, I'm Pierce. And I'm Tarun. In the second half of this unit, we've been learning about how language can persuade and even be dangerous.
We started by learning about different advertising techniques and looking at poster and video ads. We We learned about the various ways advertisers manipulate their consumers. We even made our own ads intended to manipulate using the methods we were taught. For example, I used an image of Batman to engage my audience and convince children to buy my product. My favorite part of this unit was learning about how I've been manipulated before and how to watch out for it in the future.
Then we moved into reading Animal Farm by George Orwell. In the book, we can see a variety of persuasive techniques, as well as the dangers that powerful language can have. We've been studying the characters' speeches in the book about how the characters try to gain control through language. We've even been performing these speeches to fellow peers to practice and experience different techniques in play. We learned that persuasive language can lead to dangerous people's rise to power.
So that's our first part about Tier 1. If you don't have Tier 1, you don't have anything. Like this idea that that's our Tier 1 curriculum. We're doing that with all students. We're doing our best job to meet needs. One of the superintendent's goals was to support continued use of high-quality instructional materials, moving K to 8 in ELA. So those are some examples of what we've done. The next focus I have for you in my big three is the Tiered Systems of Support, or MTSS, where we use database decision-making in small group to database decision-making to teach in small groups. You can see the grants that we were awarded there, 583 Mass Literacy Grant and 586 Early Literacy Screening. We also use some Title I funds to establish a multi-tiered system of support, or an MTSS team. This team is working hard to develop systems and structures so that students can receive services at the Tier 2 and Tier 3 levels. So, as we build our Tier 1 capacity, we are also using our different data sources in order to meet students' needs in small groups. This year we moved from our Dibbles platform on paper to the M-Class platform, and so that is one major source of data that we use in order to support students in small groups. Coaches lead school teams in doing this work, and we have partnered with the Hill for Literacy in order to adopt their data information system, or data meeting system, to best meet the needs of students. We collected a lot of data ourselves over the course of the year. I spent with the principals, we did about 100 classroom visits using a tool from Student Achievement Partners to collect some data around what we felt like we needed in order to move forward. And so big three emerged. The first one was continue our Tier 1 implementation of high-quality instructional materials. One thing we learned is that you cannot small group or intervene your way out of a bad Tier 1 curriculum, that you need that base of instruction. So going forward, we know we have to continue to support our Tier 1 curriculum. Second one is we need to work on collecting, analyzing, and utilizing our M-Class data. As we shore up our Tier 1 curriculum, we have to have ways for students to get more support if they need it, and we have to have ways for identifying who those students are. And so we're using those in what we call a WIN block in the K-5 world, which is what I need. So it's an intervention block where teachers can take small groups in order to meet needs based on our revised data systems. The last things is we need evidence-based small group instructional practices. So once somebody might end up in a WIN block or be getting what they need, we need that teacher to have the tools that they need in order to best meet the needs of students. So we've started working with the Hill for Literacy to learn about evidence-based small group instructional practices. So here's our curriculum and mission for the year, my friends, with the middle being all students are our students. Curriculum supports equity and all students deserve access. Tiers are not locations and all students can succeed with the right scaffolds. And database decisions drive our work and all students benefit when we collaborate. What you see on there of the crust is some of the resources that we use. Wit and Wisdom, Foundations, Hegarty, Eureka, and then some of the systems we have in place. Collaboration is teacher collaboration, WIN, intervention block that I'm talking about, and SAT is our student assistance team, the way we look at students and collect data. Along the sides there, we have M-Class, MAP, FQT, and EOMs, focusing question tasks and end-of-module assessments. Sorry, there's so many acronyms. And so the idea that these are the things we're using in order to support students. These are our resources that sort of hold everything together. Excellent. All right, moving into the 6 to 12 world a little bit. Just recently, I have the honor of facilitating a genocide education leadership team where we received a grant from the state in order to do some work to share or to enhance students' experiences learning about genocide. And so I am working with a committee of teachers with high school English departments and history departments in order to work and think about how to best instruct students about genocide on both a global and a local level. And so we have 2 professional development providers. The really great thing about like getting a lot of the grants from the state are that very good professional development and support comes with it. So we're working with Facing History and ourselves in Essex National Heritage Center. Yes, exactly. For Facing History is going to support us in a global view of genocide education, and Essex National Heritage Area is going to support us in a more local view. In the local area, we have a lot of testimony, survivor stories, oral histories through Essex National Heritage about survivors of genocide in this very local area, so learning with kids. And we're very proud because when we had our last call with Facing History and ourselves, they said, wow, we're really impressed with your teacher-leader model. And I said, oh, that's great. The fact that Facing History and ourselves was impressed with anything we did was very exciting. And so this is really awesome work. We've just started a small amount in FY24, more in FY25. Really excited about this group. Investigating History, if you don't know already, is the history curriculum written by the Department of Education to align with the new history standards that came out in 2018. We were awarded an Investigating History implementation grant for about $30,000. Here are some gorgeous pictures of our 5th grade who were working on the inquiry-based question of like what would happen if students drew their own borders, talking about priorities, territories, and a republic. So this is an example of something that students were doing in grade 5. But the investigating history is also being used in grade 7. You can see pictures of students. Oh, the teacher added in pictures of students. Haven't seen them yet. That's awesome. There's you can see the South and Central Asia summative assessments in argumentative writing. And when we asked students what we wanted to know, this is what they said.
This year, we have done a ton of writing in social studies as we've been learning about the ancient civilizations of both Asia and Europe. Our first unit this year was on South and Central Asia. And for our final project, we made webs connecting primary and secondary sources to answer one of our essential questions about geography, religion, or government. After we made our webs, we wrote in depth about how our sources were connected and how they answered our essential questions. During our unit on East Asia, we wrote argument essays about how leaders use their power and spread of religion. We also got to read A Single Shard by Linda Sue Park, which taught us about life in 12th century Korea.
Yeah, little work. Thank you, my friends. That is the humanities world. I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Kara, in the STEM world.
I know. Okay, I'm going to say thank you. I know. Look at those stickies. We love it. Yes, it's good. It's a good habit, right? Try to get our own ourselves, our students, our.
Okay, so this is.
That's great.
Thank you for teaching me some restraint, Pam.
All right, so again, that trend of 3, I'm going to speak to you tonight about 3 different teams and activities that we've done. One is our acceleration academies that I've shared a little bit about in the past, so I'm going to kind of fill you in on those and some updates from this year. The second is our district curriculum accommodation plan, or DCAP for short. And then the third thing is our deeper learning leadership team, which is some exciting work that we've done from December till now. Thanks, Ben. So again, the Math Vacation Acceleration Academy is another Department of Ed grant, 125, that we've been awarded. This is the 3rd time that we have received this grant. It's based on a model that teachers work with small groups of students over the vacation weeks on math. So 4 full days of math. We give them the long weekend of Monday off, so it's Tuesday through Friday. We've run them in both the February and April vacations for the last 3 years. And teachers work on providing opportunities for students to reach grade level content by building some more foundational skills. So that's where that acceleration model. Sometimes past practice was, let's just fill in the gaps that they have, and the idea is to really sneak in those misconceptions that they might have or some gaps through this great opportunity. So teachers nominate students. You see in the bottom left-hand piece a little chart of the data throughout the years. So we do continue to increase the numbers of students. You'll notice that our early elementary, the grant is for grades 3 through 10, so we can only provide it for students in those grades. And we really have had this abundance. You know, see the third grade went from 33 the first year to 54 to 77 students this year. Some of those students are repeat. Some of them might come both February and April. We don't require them to come both, but we've had, you know, some success that students, I need to pull the data deeper, but there are some students who really have come all 3 years and are excited to get invited to this program. Some quotes, we do a blind survey at the end, anonymous survey from students. So one student in the elementary group said, I think it was a good teaching experience because the teachers helped me understand math. I have trouble in math a lot. So their confidence really seems to grow. That's something that we've seen. We have guidance counselors on staff that do some work specifically around growth mindset with them in math. And we've had comments from teachers that say, wow, when they've returned to the classroom, they're just more ready for learning in that next phase of the school year. In the kind of bottom middle, you can see this was a middle school student whose comment was, I learned that math is connected to the real world way more than I could have ever imagined. So through the experiences they have, our teachers get really creative with a full day. You can imagine having, you know, a lot of hours to really dive into some interesting projects and activities, getting the kids up and moving. They're small groups. They max out at 12 students in a group, so they can really do some really creative things and dive in and see math in beautiful ways. This summer, we will also be running an Acceleration Academy. This summer grant, we have decided to focus on ELA since our other two are math focused, and we have students, the current kindergarten through 5th grade students, so rising grades 1st through 6th, and they'll be working on literacy standards, using some DIBELS data again to determine which students might come, and working those foundation skills and comprehension skills. I was with one of the art teachers who will be running the academy this summer, and she was so excited about the opportunity. Again, we have art teachers, we have our PE teachers really embracing both literacy and math through that. So students do some really creative things. She was talking about the excitement she had for coming in the summer and doing this. So our teachers really have done a fantastic job with all of these academies. The second piece is our DCAP. This was a collaborative effort. So we're part of the SEAM collaborative. And as part of that group, Emily Pat is an inclusion coach. So we had the opportunity to work with her about 18 days of the school year and kind of consult here and there. We can sneak some additional emails and meeting time with her. So she comes on site and she works with our teachers at various schools and levels. This is the 3rd year that we've worked with her. And we last year redesigned our district curriculum accommodation plan. This is a plan that all districts need to have. It's a state law. And it is the idea of designing instruction for accommodating all students. So looking at how we are instructing students, but also how they're demonstrating their learning. What are the different ways that we can make sure that they all have access? It is not modifying the curriculum, so we're not changing the expectations for students. So we're still holding them to those grade level expectations and identifying ways that we can make sure that they all have access. So I have a little quote, so before I get to the quote, actually.
The newly revised District Curriculum Accommodation Plan, DCAP, has been very helpful this year. I have used it consistently during 504 meetings and IEP team meetings as well. Parents understand and appreciate the breadth of best teaching practices that North Andover Public Schools expects of its teachers and support staff, and it helps us to streamline and focus our listed accommodations on 504 plans and IEPs to those that are truly individualized to the needs of the students. When certain DCAP accommodations are especially important for specific students, I still reference them on student plans in a separate section that acknowledges that they are a part of our district's best teaching practices. For the Student Assistance Team SAT process, teachers understand that their data-driven interventions must go beyond the DCAP accommodations to truly target each student's individual needs and areas of growth. Therefore, the DCAP has improved the focus and effectiveness of our SAT process as well. I look forward to continued use and reference to the DCAP through these varied methods that I work to support students' academic, behavioral, and social emotional growth.
Great. So that was one of our fantastic counselors that really said this redesign, it's really made it more approachable, not only for, as she mentioned, not just for our educators, but also for families. So this is a tool. We've discussed some strategies next year of really helping students, especially our middle school and high school students, understand some of these ways that they can access the curriculum and request and have conversations with teachers. We designed it using CAST Universal Design for Learning, or UDL frameworks, which really looks at the how, the why, and the what of learning to help in that process. And as Kristen mentioned before, it really is a tiered system of approach that if we're designing instruction in this way, we can better accommodate the variety of learners that we have. You can click to the next. So a little bit about UDL. It really didn't start in the education world. It started in the architecture world. So up at the top, you'll see two images that we used in a presentation earlier this year with middle school students. The idea that if we have stairs, not everybody can access a building, and so we might put up a ramp in order to provide that access. So the idea of a lesson plan, maybe we have a lesson plan, it's not going great for students, and we need to come up with something very quickly. The shift with universal design for learning thinking is designing it up front. What are some of those things that we can anticipate? Whether it is student engagement, are they going to be excited about this opportunity and lesson? Are there some behavioral or social emotional challenges? What might we need to think about up front in order to make sure that they can all access? So you'll see the building on the right has ramps designed right in. So as we're designing the new Kittredge, I know I was on the call last week that again we're thinking of those up front, right? We want to make sure that we have all of those pieces in place so that students are ready to access their learning. So when Emily Pat comes in and meets with our team, really the overall goal is to look at practical changes that we can make to improve either academic or social emotional outcomes for students, right? Maybe there might be a lesson that we need to rethink how we're presenting it because the student might emotionally not be ready for that concept, idea, or what we're asking them to do. So making that safe. Really taking into the skills and the interests that students have and trying to plan and utilize that. On the bottom, it shows kind of a barrier chart that we've used to really think, which of those three areas of UDL are students getting stuck with? So I have this great team. I'm so lucky that I get to work with so many teachers across the district, but I meet every Tuesday with the science teachers, I should say almost every week on Tuesdays with the science teachers at the middle school during their collaboration. And they've been working with Emily for the last 3 years. Our 6th grade science team met with her. We're trying to figure out what do we want to really focus in on? What is that barrier? Where are students getting stuck? And they said, our geology unit just isn't exciting for students. I feel like, we're never quite excited to teach it. They really have a hard time conceptualizing the geological timescale. They think we're ancient. I mean, they can't really imagine how old dinosaurs are. So really trying to put that into place is just beyond them. And so Emily worked with us, getting us kind of deep. And so we designed a few different tools. You'll see a unit organizer in the middle. That was a way to kind of spark, what do they already know? What are some of these terms? Which terms have you heard? So that's how we start the unit, and then they continue to do it throughout the unit. And then you notice a choice board over on the right there with some of the topics that students explore. So there's a little video, a little audio. Yep. Nope, that's
helps
okay.
us
An
reach
audio
the
clip.
varied learners in our classroom right from the
Oh, wait a minute.
start.
Hold on.
By providing them with different ways to access the curriculum, it gives them choice, ownership, and buy-in to their learning. It helps them be responsible for their learning under our guidance.
As we plan, we are always thinking about what is good for them at this moment in time. For example, sometimes writing can be a barrier for students, so we have some copies that are partially filled so that the students can focus on the listening. The same students do not always choose this option. It all depends on what they need on that particular day.
We've also created choice boards that allow the students to pick activities and different topics to investigate. This has increased their excitement for learning.
And I'll say that it also increased the teachers' excitement. So this year when we went to, this is the unit that we ended with this year, and as we were getting close to it, we're finishing up the solar eclipse, they're all excited about that, and then we're launching this unit, and they went, oh my gosh, it's our fun unit, we can't wait to dive into this. So really seeing their excitement for learning, which we know translates into student excitement. But also every time I'm with them, and this team in particular, I've seen their shift, right? This ability to work with Emily and really think about instruction. They are constantly thinking, oh wait, I know this year I have this student and maybe we need to tweak things a little bit. And we're working, very collaboratively to make those shifts. So it's been really exciting to see the DCAP kind of come alive. We're excited to continue that. The second piece I want to talk, or third, I don't even know, I've lost track of numbers now. The third exciting thing to share with you is our Deeper Learning Leadership Team. So again, we were awarded a grant from the Department of Ed, $41,000 to develop this team. So this is a grant that came up in November. So as we were jumping into the year, looking at our vision and the strategic plan, and as principals were working on their school improvement plans, it really seemed to align with what our principals Jackson and Gonzalez were working on at the middle school and high school. So this was a grant specifically for grades 6 through 12. We focused in on the work of those teachers, and we built a leadership team of 6 through 12 educators to be part of this team. So deeper learning, we've learned a lot about this. I think it's clear as I'm talking about it, kind of think back to those examples from Wit and Wisdom and Investigating History. It really is so connected to all those instructional strategies that we're putting in place. And so with this deeper learning, we have a big essential question, right? How do we improve student learning experience through deeper learning? If you've had a chance to read Desi's educational vision, you'll see deeper learning everywhere throughout it. What we're really considering is what are the ways we're purposefully planning instruction, we're allowing multiple perspectives to come into place, and then designing products that students will create to really get them thinking deeply about the world around them. We want to make sure that we're facilitating and planning lessons that are grade level work, that are relevant to students, relevant to the real world, and interactive. And then we want to look at the end, if we have designed this well, our student work should really look deep, and students should really be able to master the content, show mastery in really authentic ways, and be able to examine their own identity, how they fit in the world, how all of these subjects fit into the real world, and that creativity piece, right? Where are they applying it in a very authentic way? Maybe not just your typical test and quiz and essay. So what are the different applications that they can have? So throughout this process, we've been utilizing 3 instructional tools and planning routines. So one is a unit unpacking, one is a lesson internalization, really thinking carefully about how we're undergoing our lesson structure, and then analyzing student work. So on the right-hand side, you see an image. This was a high school history lesson that we looked at using objects to dive in, and students looked at historical thinking chart and really analyze what they think and know about history and historical time periods using objects. So that was one unit that we dove in deeper into. And then on the bottom, we looked at a 6th grade science lesson where students were constructing arguments supported by evidence that the body systems are connected and interact with each other. And they did some fantastic, again, maybe some students in the room or parents of students in the room did this project. So really cool because students really dove into this topic, but in a very authentic way. So teachers planned for instruction. In group work, students need to present, why their body system was so important. Might be, yeah. So we really, and in analyzing this work, I think our team of teachers really saw how they can make improvements to it. What can we do to make sure that, again, all of our students are diving into this work in a really deep and authentic way? So another piece to this leadership team is that we visited classrooms. So initially, middle school visited middle school classrooms, high school visited high school, and then they said, we really want to see each other. And so this picture happens to be, again, I'm biased, my 6th grade science team. Erin Gordon is kind of kneeling on the ground with some of her students, and the 2 standing, and they were in and kind of deep and down in with the students. When I snapped the picture, they were standing at the moment with this new group, but 2 of our high school teachers. And the students this day were being paleontologists. So they had some mystery bones. They had to decide how to put them together. They were getting really involved with this lesson. And then a picture in the bottom right is kind of what they came up with. So through this, a piece is really making sure students are being scientists, they are being artists, they are being historians. So really thinking authentically about being in those roles and building that identity. So a little reflection.
I used to think that curriculum and deeper learning was an individual work process. I now understand that this is a collaborative process. It's complex and has many revamps and feedback from peers and colleagues and students and administrators, and it's truly a rewarding collaborative process.
So what's been really neat is that we have some science teachers, we have an art teacher, our ELA coach, our principals are part of this group, a special ed teacher. So we really have explored different content areas as a team, and they said that's been also really nice to get some different perspectives and see how these all connect in with each other. I'm going to play actually the reflection first and then talk about the work, because I think it leads it to where we're headed with this great work we've done.
My work with the Deeper Learning Leadership Team has allowed me the opportunity to work with colleagues at NAMS and the high school in reflecting upon our current practices as compared to the essential expectations for effective teaching and learning as aligned to the DESE educational vision. Our work together has provided a game plan, a directive, and goals for professional development priorities for next year. And we are actually really excited to embark on this journey together through collaboration and teamwork.
So as you can hear, hopefully, in Principal Gonzalez's excitement there too, we have really, every time we kind of meet, we're looking at how we do this better, but also thinking, how do we expand this work? How do we bring it back to our schools and make sure that all educators are part of this? And really, again, that goal of all students are our students. How are we working collaboratively and together in this? We also have grant convenings that are other districts through that also receive this grant that we meet. So we have one last one next week, and that's been really interesting to hear from other districts and what they're doing along these work, so we can share ideas with each other. We have two pieces this summer that we're going to move forward with. So we have a team of teachers that are going to be attending the DESE Instructional Leadership Institute, which is 3 days, a 3-day session. And it's some administrators and some teachers. The administrators will be looking at kind of the systems and structures that we're using to design these equitable outcomes for students. And then our teachers will dive deeper into the planning routines and intentional planning routines that transform the student outcomes. So we're utilizing those deeper learning pieces that we've learned this year and taking it a step further. The second group I'm excited about, as many of you probably know, artificial intelligence is everywhere. And of course, at the forefront, right? Anytime there's new technology, teachers are excited, but also kind of nervous and scared by these new pieces. Students, tend to be on the cutting edge. Maybe they have more free time in their days. I know my own daughters do, to dive into things before I do. But we are going to dive deep into artificial intelligence. So we have a team from the middle school and the high school. They are going to learn a little bit deeper about artificial intelligence themselves. So they are going to do an asynchronous course called the Empower Educator, an essential guide to AI in 2024 for educators. And then they're also going to read the Artificial Intelligence Playbook. And then we're going to meet in July and then again in August to draft an AI policy statement to help kind of guide this, forward work with our students, and also plan some professional development for the middle school and high school educators so that we can know more and be empowered with this information so that we can, again, design educational experiences for students that maybe they're utilizing AI in their learning, because it can be a very powerful tool, but also helping them understand, much like plagiarism and when the internet came out way back in my day, how do we use it for good and empower them to use it in the right ways. And so that's some exciting work that we're going to be doing connected to deeper learning this summer.
All right, let's keep talking about some more exciting work. So I'm going to be talking to you all about the world of curriculum through the math direction. And what you see listed up here is our math vision that was created by our curriculum committee. We don't need to read the whole quote, but I did want to highlight two parts of this vision because you will see themes of these two elements alive in all three of the projects that I talked to you about. So we really want to have our students become collaborative problem solvers and proficient mathematicians. So as I'm talking through the math leadership team, the math curriculum committee, and the calculus project, I want to make it very clear that those are really reference points for us as we think about those three projects. So we'll start with the math leadership team. So the math leadership team was funded through our operating budget. The $33,000 was paid directly to teachers as a stipend to have them do two major things. The first thing that we were having the teachers do was participate in 9 coaching sessions. They were coached by myself and the math coaches, and their coaching sessions were referenced around 4 math priorities. These math priorities came from NCTM, Harvard's MQI model, and research around the SMPs as well. So their professional development as coaching for their coaching cycle was centered around these 4 math priorities. Also, they had the role of facilitating 15 hours of district professional development, and we kept track of the feedback around those sessions, and we used the NPS score. If you're familiar with the Net Promoter Score, anything over 0 is really good. And we were at a 50 for the whole year, which is fantastic, which means that most people found the sessions useful, and they would tell someone that they should do them. So of our 11 math leaders, we had one math leader that answered this question for us. That question was, how did being part of the math leadership team impact your instruction and the experience of students in your classroom? So we'll listen to that now.
Being part of the math leadership team has significantly impacted my teaching approach by allowing me to evaluate my instruction through a more focused lens. This experience has enabled me to make my classroom more student-centered and to teach my students about the importance of productive struggle. By emphasizing the value of effort and perseverance in the learning process, I have helped my students become more comfortable with challenges and less worried about getting the correct answers immediately. This approach encourages them to engage deeply with the material, develop critical thinking skills, and build resilience. This has helped to create a more dynamic and supportive learning environment.
So that was one of our middle school teachers that I was coaching throughout the year, and we would meet regularly. We would do class visits, and we would debrief around her goal, which was supporting students with productive struggle. So it was a great opportunity to ask questions. Sometimes the classes would be recorded. We would listen to the recording or watch it and provide some good feedback, which was really helpful because then many of them were going to facilitate PD around these topics as well. All right, the next project that I'm going to talk to you about is the Math Curriculum Committee. So the Math Curriculum Committee was supported through the operating budget. The $4,800 was to provide stipends for teachers to serve on the committee. The main goal of the committee was to look at this question: how is our current math resource serving our students? So we used DESE's Implement MA process to look at how we could evaluate what we're currently using and also look at the current landscape of the market and see what else is out there. As you can see, the process isn't something that happens in a few weeks. It takes multiple years, and we are really proud of the fact that we're taking time to be intentional about it, to spend a lot of time researching it so that we make the best decision for our students and our teachers. So I'm being told that I'm going to come to another meeting to get more deep into the details of it. So today I'm going to give you the general details around it. It was not just me on the committee. We had roughly 12 teachers and principals that served on the committee as well. So we'll go to the next slide now. This is one of the teachers that served on the Math Curriculum Committee. Before we get into the details, I do want to highlight the fact that yes, a big goal of it was to look at a resource and to pick a resource that we were going to pilot and try out. But there was a secondary benefit of just improving teachers and principals' awareness of what it means to have a high-quality math instruction. And Isabel is going to talk about that now.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabella Noon and I am a 3rd grade teacher at Thompson. Serving on the Math Curriculum Committee develops my understanding of high-quality math instruction by giving me the opportunity to analyze factors that DESE considers when identifying exceptional curriculum. By examining Curate and EdReport rubrics, I was able to identify how curricula aligns with standards, its rigor, and the usability for teachers and students. The curriculum team analyzed curricula based on these factors, as well as how the program would build conceptual understanding, procedural skill, and fluency. After rating curricula based on these components, the team narrowed down the list of possible curricula. The team went to see these curricula in action in other districts while considering our own students. The team ensured that the high-quality curriculum that we chose supported the learning styles and development of math skills for all students. This process helped me develop a stronger understanding of what high-quality instruction should include and look like in the classroom.
Go to the next one. So like I said, I will go into deeper details, but to give you all a general timeline of this process, in the fall of this year, we were looking at our current resource, which is Eureka Math, which was brought into our school district in 2017. And although our students are doing well with the change of classrooms, technology, and the environment, we feel that there could be a resource that could be better for our students. So that brought us into the second phase, which is the investigating and select. So we narrowed down from over 80 curricula to 13, and then from 13 down to 4. The 4 that you see here, we engaged in a lot of material reviews, both digital and print. We met with publishers, and we went to go visit schools around the North Shore that were using these curricular resources. And after that, and a lot of conversations and voting in this room, we landed on Eureka Math Squared as the program that we want to pilot next year, with the hope that at the end of next year, we would present to you the results and how teachers felt about it and the impact on learning, with a full implementation potentially starting in fall of 25. So what I want to talk about now is the pilot team and what that looks like and how that'll happen. All right, so now that we're in the launch phase, we are thinking about next fall to next spring, and our question that's guiding us here is, okay, we have Eureka Squared now. What does success look like with Eureka Squared? We were very, very fortunate to be able to get teachers to volunteer to do this, and we were even more fortunate to get free materials from Eureka Squared for the pilot year. So it is not costing the district anything, but we are providing 2 in-service credits to all of the teachers. So just to start with the first aspect of it, this is a full year pilot. Teachers are going to have full access to print and digital resources. We're going to have 12 teachers throughout the district, 2 from each school. Now, I'm not just handing the materials to teachers in a box and saying good luck. We are going to be providing them with a lot of guidance throughout the school year. In the summer, they're going to receive professional development from Great Minds, which is the provider for Eureka Squared. And throughout next year, our focus for Math PD is going to be around facilitating math discourse. We're going to have 4 to 5 sessions throughout the year around this goal. Really want students talking in our math classes. And then finally, the last piece is the instructional coaching. So each of the pilot teachers are going to participate in a monthly coaching session with myself. We'll talk about instruction, talk about successes, and talk about obstacles that they're experiencing with Eureka Squared. And pilot teachers will have the option to visit other classrooms around the district to help give some perspective on their own instruction. All right, and the last project that I'm going to talk to you about is called the Calculus Project. This Calculus Project is coming from our operating budget. It's costing us $33,000. And for those of you that weren't here when I first described the Calculus Project, I do want to take a step back and talk about the mission of it before I get into the logistics of it. The Calculus Project is a grassroots-style initiative with its aim to dramatically increase the number of students of color and low-income students who complete AP Calculus in high school. As we know, if students have access to AP courses, it dramatically impacts their experience as college students or students that go into trade schools as well. So this is a multi-year ambitious project that has 3 main components to it. The first one is the Summer Learning Academy. The second is the Weekly Academic Center. And the third is the student cohorts. And I will talk about those 3 aspects now. But first, some context around where the calculus project is today. Currently, the calculus project is in 12 districts and is serving over 800 students. Brookline, Milton, and Newton are the districts that have been using the calculus project for the longest. And as we said, the goal of the calculus project is really to increase access for students that have been historically not given that access. So on the infographic on the left, you see that 70% of students in the calculus project identify as Black or Hispanic/Latino, and 7% identify as white. 85% earned an A or a B in their first semester of math, and overall, 60% of seniors in the calculus project are taking an advanced placement math course. So this goal of having students take advanced math is a big aspect of the calculus project. All right, and let's talk about the current group. So we are currently in our second year, but this first year we had one group of students, and they were our rising 8th grade students, and we had 8 of them in that group. In terms of data, how they did this year, looking at their MAP growth is just one measure of data to use as a reference point for how students are doing. That being said, looking at the median growth for calculus project students compared to their peers, the growth median percentile for our 8 calculus project students was 70th percentile compared to the 56th percentile of their peers in the 8th grade. And of those 8 students, 75% of them had a A- or above in math. And that's great, and that's important. To me, the quote on the right from a survey is just as important, and I really wanted to highlight that 100% of our students this year agreed or strongly agreed that participating in the calculus project during the summer increased their confidence in math. And if students believe that they are math students, I think they are in better positions to achieve as math students. All right, so what is this going to look like over the next 5 years? So we are wrapping up year 1 with our first cohort, and I'm very excited to share some more details about this year because we are adding our second cohort. So the current 8th graders are going off next year to be 9th graders in the high school, and they're going to continue receiving calculus project support, and we are bringing on our second cohort this year of 8th grade. And the idea is that every year we will just continue to add the rising 8th graders while continuing to have the other grades as well. So the goal is by 27-28, our 5th year, we have 5 cohorts all the way from 8th grade to 12th grade. And maybe we can put some of those 12th graders to work and pay them to teach and work in the summer so they can help out with the summer learning as well. All right, so what will the calculus project look like this year? So I'm really excited to talk about the numbers. Last year we had 8 8th graders. This year that number has gone up to 13, and we're going to have not 1 but 2 7th grade groups this year. We're going to have roughly 40 students. So around 53 students in total, considering the fact that we had 8 last year. I consider that to be a really great growth and accomplishment. So this year we'll be on site in North Andover, and one of the big things about the calculus project is we don't want it to just feel like remedial work in the summertime. The idea is that students are learning the foundational standards that are going to support them next year in their math courses. On top of that, we also are going to be taking a field trip. Kara was really fortunate to provide me with some contacts at Raytheon so that we could set up a day for the students to go to Raytheon to tour the warehouse, do some project-based learning, and meet with some of the engineers there, so that it's not just going to feel like remedial summer school. They're going to have an opportunity to see some of this math that they're learning in the non-education space. All right, and that's all I have for math.
In our last slide, we just want to just reshare this you've seen throughout the slides tonight, but just take a look at what we're able to do with some of the grants that we bring in. I want to remind you that you approved our Student Opportunity Act, which was accepted by DESE, which allows us to be able to apply for these grants. And you'll see how hard everybody in this room works in order to obtain those grants. And then you'll see some of the things that we're doing out of the operating budget. And then we want to say thank you. We know it was a longer presentation, but if you can imagine, I only asked them to pick 3 things to talk about. There's so many things. You also have a copy of the DCAP in your packet tonight, and for there. I know you wrote some things down on your Post-its. We are happy to take a few comments or questions, but I do want to stay on schedule, and we're a little off schedule already. So I'm happy to gather those too if there's things that you want us to talk about. But if you want to say anything, I'll stop talking.
I just have one general one.
Sure.
I think, and I don't expect the answer right now, but what I would love to know in general about all of this is kind of measurement. How many teachers were on, and some of it's in here, but not everyone covered, like how many teachers were on these committees, how, in other words, how engaged are we, how many students are in some of the programs, and then the big one is how do we measure success? And again, some of that is addressed in here, some of it isn't. So that's like my theme in my Post-its.
So before Joe goes, I'm going to hand my comments to Pam.
Okay, thanks.
But I just want to say this was amazing.
Thank you.
The passion that you all show through this, the excitement, it gets me excited and it's just amazing. So thank you for all of your hard work and your passion that just shines through. Incredible.
We're about threes.
Top three for each of you. No, a lot of it are individual questions about each of the programs, so I'll just leave those there. One thing I'm thinking about is our, in regards to science, we know that the science MCAS, the style of the assessment is changing. I'm going to assert that you are making changes now to make sure kids are ready for that new style of test. Can you just give us a brief, how does the work that you've been doing connect to that? Because it's not the end all be all, but we know that it's going to be different, and we want to make sure kids can still do well on it.
I'm excited personally about the new MCAS.
It's a good change.
It's a very good change. I wish maybe others would change, but we're excited about the science MCAS changing, the ST MCAS. So I was accepted. I say vaguely. I think they took everybody that was willing to go and attend and drive to Worcester or wherever it is. But it was nice to be part of a kind of an ambassador program to learn about this. And we did I've lost track of how many days, a couple days in person. It was great. The commissioner at the time came and again really spoke to this idea of deeper learning and this idea of, how if we are expecting our students to learn in these very authentic ways, then we really should be measuring their knowledge based on these authentic ways. And so at the end of that training, the idea was to kind of bring these back to our district. Knowing that even just wit and wisdom, the knowledge students are gaining in the content areas of science and social studies within Wit and Wisdom. We use mystery science as our core resource for elementary that is very engaged, mostly aligned to the math standards. That's always a challenge because math's decided to be a little unique with some of the grade levels. But students are really, diving in and investigating in a pretty authentic way. So I think that what we're doing already is going to help prepare them for this new MCAS. Our middle school, we were kind of ready to do some. We had 4 maternity leaves across our 10 middle school science teachers this year. So as you can imagine, we kind of decided we were not selected as a district to try out this new MCAS this year. We said, let's hold off till we have the whole team. And we're preparing for some deeper learning and looking at that. Personally, I came home from the training. I have a 4th grader and a 7th grader in the district. My 7th grader will not be taking it as 8th grade. She'll probably have a sample next year, but my 4th grader will. And I said, ooh, Em, what do you, this is where mommy was, because they always ask, what do you do? It's not like being a teacher in the classroom anymore. And she, I said, well, let me show you. And she tried the sample that we had worked on with the 5th grade. She said, oh, that's pretty cool. So it is very interactive. Students get, some of the typical questions, but it really is a simulation where they are kind of have a storyline and they're diving in and they're asked to perform some experiments through these simulations and then ask some questions. And so it was a 5th grade standard that was around motion and forces, so pretty approachable, which I also think, again, if all of our students have access points to it, maybe they don't know about forces, but maybe they've rode a bike and they can kind of dive into this work in a meaningful way. And so she tried it and she's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I'm like, did it feel like a test? Because we heard, that some of the feedback they're getting is it didn't even feel like I was sitting in MCAS. She's like, oh, wait, that's the MCAS? That's what it is? I'm like, yeah. She said, wait, is there more? And she did the 8th grade ones. So, and maybe I'm getting the content, maybe that was the forces one. But, my point being, I think that I'm hopeful that the teachers get excited and then we can really explore some more pieces. So at some point, maybe we do need some more resources. I think DESE is trying to provide some free simulations and kind of give us banks and tools. There are some out there that are pretty expensive and I think cost prohibitive. So looking at that, they did just announce some new tasks. So we are diving in. I have on our draft next year. So yes, I'll be working with the middle school deeply about that work, because we know it does build 6th, 7th, and 8th. So really important that we get some knowledge building and those experiences. But elementary, we're looking to do at least, a 2-hour PD along with the math and the ELA that will continue to just start exploring that and see where we can go and plan for that for the year out. So, really long answer, but it was a really good question, and I'm too passionate about science to keep it short.
I love it. As I'm about to give a teaching and learning presentation, I'm actually looking at. I want to be you, Miss Ando. I look at all the things that you all do, because you're important too, but it's what I do too. And I don't have the opportunity to do all that, and I'm jealous and also quite appreciative of the work that you're doing for our students, because these curriculum shifts are so necessary. When I was in the classroom the first time, we had all the knowledge, right? We had to do the things to give it to kids because technology didn't exist as much. And our role, and kids have these things that now give that to them, but we are still really important and we matter. And we have to think about what our role as educators is. And the shifts that you're making is really focusing in on that and focusing in on making sure that kids are still doing the thinking. Because if they're doing the thinking, they're doing the learning. So thank you for all that, and thank you, Ms. Lathrop and the administration, for making sure that this work continues, because this is so essential to kids doing well and being ready for what comes next. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Any more?
Well, I always like to be reminded of kids really like to learn. And then teachers like it when their kids learn. And if you ask them to do more and you help them do it, then they get really excited. So it's just nice to see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to summarize, I think the presentation style actually was excellent. I like the anecdotal stuff a lot. I think it's really helpful for us, right, to hear that kind of stuff firsthand from the students, from the teachers, et cetera. So I commend you on that. It was really awesome. And
it's interesting, with the use of technology, that we can virtually bring student voices
right.
to the table. You know what I mean? We don't have to physically bring them here in order for you to
right.
hear.
And you can hear it in their voices too, which is really good. It's really good.
I've sometimes seen when a superintendent got really excited about something or other, she actually brought the kids to the school committee, and then they got all really excited.
Right.
I think maybe, I can't remember what it was they were doing, but it was, whatever it was very cool, and everybody really enjoyed it.
We'll find one that's not past bedtime.
I know.
Yeah, you did the next best thing.
Thank you. We're really proud, and we really wanted to share with you some of the celebrations of the work that's happening. And I think this is the way that we continue to thank our teachers for the hard work that they're doing. And I just had a quick chance to go through some of your questions, Dave, and I think these are really helpful, and they'll help us think about other things that we can bring forward to the school committee. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much to the three of you. Now go to bed.
Thank you, guys. Really, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay. So chair's report. First thing is we have some proposed meeting dates for everybody to look at here. I feel like for the official summer retreat, we should probably target, just based on this data in front of us, that we should probably target the week of August 5th. And I say that because the week of August 12th is 1 week before the first scheduled meeting of the new year, right, which is on the next sheet, which would be August 22nd. So try to provide a little bit of separation. I suggest we do the week of August 5th, obviously not Thursday, because 2 people said no to Thursday. So I would like to suggest, I'd actually like to suggest that Tuesday.
So I actually had a separate conversation with Michelle about this as well.
Okay.
So actually only Monday that week
Could work.
would work for me on that week.
Monday's good for me.
Is that August 5th itself?
It is.
It is.
Sure.
Is that good, Ed? As far as you know?
5th?
Yeah.
You know, if I check the week, then it doesn't really matter.
All right. So we're gonna make that a decision. August 5th, Monday for the summer retreat.
That is August 5th, Monday is a is our team's retreat. It's my.
Oh, it's your retreat.
okay.
It's my retreat.
Okay,
Okay.
so never mind.
But
Well, I think you probably
I
want to be there.
probably should be here, but
Yeah.
should be there too.
Well, then I guess the only way to
Right?
accommodate everybody, I feel like July 8th is going to be too soon. And I know that's going to be, because it would have to be Monday per Kelly, and I'm flying back Sunday
Yeah.
night from vacation, and I'm worried about, like, doing something that next day, plus it's very soon. I mean,
I can actually adjust. If it was Monday, the week of July 22nd,
that would work.
I can do that Monday. I'm gone starting Tuesday.
I'm on vacation the week
Oh.
of July 20th to 27th.
Then
Sorry.
never mind.
Was
I
that-
leave on Tuesday for the next week. So.
Oh, so that knocks you out. Okay.
Okay, so we're taking out completely the week of July 22nd. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Joe, Kelly was X'd out July 15th.
And the week of July 29th, I could probably do Thursday or Friday.
Oh,
I'm away until Wednesday.
all right. Why don't we say Thursday? So that'll be 29th, 30th, August 1st.
August 1st.
Is that okay with everybody?
Thursday, August 1st?
Yeah. Does that work, Pam?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. All right. Thursday, August 1st will be our retreat. Wonderful. Okay. And then you also have in your packet the proposed meeting dates for next year.
Is that all you need
it's in
is
here.
one
Never mind.
day?
I have it in front of my face.
Pardon?
You're only looking for one day between,
For the time being, unless we have other
until you,
needs.
of course, look for more.
We may need more, but
No, I'm just teasing.
yeah.
I was just confused because there were so many dates. I thought.
Right,
you
we
were
were just
looking
trying to
for more than
converge
one.
on a date for it's essentially RPD, our professional development as a committee. And we'll work on, the new chair will work on the agenda for that when we get there.
Okay.
But that's essentially what it is, okay? And then this is just informational, but these, unless somebody already knows, they have a problem with one of the dates proposed for regular meetings starting August 22nd.
I'm unable to attend on December 19th.
Okay,
I'll be in the Galapagos.
well, not bad.
Or keto. I'm not sure which one got that for me.
All right,
But that's okay. If I'm the only one, then you don't have to.
I
Yeah.
think we'll be okay. All right, so that's
What date? Joe?
December 19th.
December 19th.
December. The purpose of this is just if we know that 3 members won't make one of these dates, we shouldn't have it, that's all. But probably not an issue, okay?
It's possible that October 10th wouldn't work for me, a little too early to say.
All right,
I
but
guess I
again, as
better
long
make
as
up
it's,
my mind soon, is that what you're telling me?
well, or, I mean, it's okay to miss a meeting here and there. As long as we don't have 3 of us missing the meeting.
That would be inconvenient, right?
And stuff happens, I mean, we can adjust. Okay. We had a community chat on June 1st, Joe and I did with the community, which I have a little bit of a summary for, but Joe, do you want to present a summary first? Or you want me to read what I have?
No, I mean, you can share the specifics. We had 11 folks attend. We went over the hour that was allotted. Thank you to everyone for attending and spending the time with us. A lot of questions about special education, some questions about Chromebooks. I really appreciate some good things, but also a lot of questions about there's some things about technology and procedures and all that. And we're going to get those concerns to the relevant people themselves. But one person did share that they really appreciated having the community chat and making sure that it was broadcast well, in that coming to give public comment is one way to share with us a thing, but that can still feel really intimidating. And having a smaller forum to share things with us and to have conversations was very welcomed. We should continue doing those and make sure that we can be out there talking with people and hearing from our constituents. And some of the things they shared were positive, but a lot of questions and concerns. And we need to hear those as well. So I appreciate everything that people shared with us and coming to spend the time to do that. Because nothing that people said was wrong or unnecessary or rude or anything like that. It's all stuff that we do need to hear so that we can do better for the community. So it's important that we have those events to hear that stuff.
So that's, I'll just add a few things. There were obviously questions about budget. We handled them as best we could. There were some concerns in particular about special ed staffing in the budget crunch. There's some like nitty-gritty stuff about cameras not working or whatever in the parking lots, Chromebooks, as Joe said. There was one interesting one, and so all of the previous things I said and that Joe said, we've already relayed to administration, to Pam. So, but the one thing I haven't relayed to you that did come up, I thought of this earlier, was there was a suggestion that school committee members be a little bit more frequent visitors to schools. That one, I can't remember who made that suggestion, but one of the people there did. Which I think is...
It was one of the teachers.
It was one of the teachers.
Inviting us to come down and watch.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm all for that. Obviously, we don't want to overwhelm anybody or make it a bit crazy, but to the extent, it's just something to think about. But I think it's a pretty good, it struck me as a pretty good idea. Especially for someone like me, my kids are out of the system now. I don't really have an occasion to go unless it's an event. And I do enjoy those, like the curriculum days or whatever that I do get to go to, but just some food for thought. So, okay.
So just, I'm sorry, there's a period after June or early July we basically don't meet?
Oh, yeah, we generally don't meet but once after our last meeting in the spring until the first meeting of the fall. We don't have scheduled meetings generally in July or August.
Where
except
the fall begins at the end of August.
Correct.
Not in the beginning of September.
Correct.
Yeah, so a little fudging there. Okay.
Yeah, so basically after the last scheduled meeting of the year until the first scheduled meeting of the next year, we usually plan, this is typically what's been done. We plan one summer retreat meeting to do professional development. Of course, if we need more meetings for whatever reason, we have them, but that they aren't generally planned. Is this part of Chair's report? I think it is.
Yes.
Yes. Did I finish everything? Oh, no, but this comes first before we do that. We have the agenda item is Special Education Advisory Committee update, and you two gentlemen, Ed and Joe, had a meeting with some CPAC people to help provide some new input on that. So if you guys would like to enlighten us.
Last week with Ms. Lathrop and Zora Warren and Sasha Weinrich were there on behalf of CPAC, and we hashed through what the advisory committee could look like and the purpose and all that to make sure that we have a strong vision. And Sasha graciously drafted some stuff and then shared with Pam, and they made some adjustments back and forth, and they agreed on some draft language to share with everybody here, because the subcommittee would officially be, well, was officially formed by us, but this will give us the mission and the purpose and all that.
Okay. And that's what we have in front of us here.
That's what we have here.
So I may have missed, I've been away for a couple of days. I didn't see it till this morning, so I haven't commented on this.
Is there going to be or I don't know if we need to put one in there, a recommendation of how often they intend to meet? I know they have to present no less than quarterly, but how often are they meeting?
That's a thing we should put on here, time or meeting frequency. In particular, I like in terms of the composition, the shared is the better word, leadership model of the two co-chairs being one from the school committee and one being from the district and working together and collaborating. I think that has always been the intention here.
That was the original proposal, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to highlight that's the collaborative nature of that is important.
So, I have a question about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just, I like everything I'm reading here. The only thing I wonder about is it's pretty large, right? There's a lot of people here listed here.
So we acknowledge that it could get big, and also that there could be people who play multiple roles too. And
right, I think we were thinking that it's big, but then There will be smaller things that, like,
Have to happen.
from here, like maybe subcommittees will be formed and some people will go off and do something else. I sort of looking at it again, I think one of the things we talked about was, we have the humanities director and a STEM director. We don't have a principal listed here, so maybe just 2 members of the leadership team, as opposed to like identifying the humanities director and identifying the STEM director.
And we included Select Board and Finance Committee in that we want to make sure that in terms of budgets and priorities and forward thinking and planning, that they would have to be, we would want them to be partners on this so they can go back to their respective boards and say, we've been doing the work alongside them. These are the things that we really need to do, and to make sure that we have strong advocates and people to speak to the things that we would recommend, prioritize.
All right.
Well, there should be a principal, I think.
Yep.
So this isn't quite final.
Okay. So
That's it. What do you guys think, though, about, I understand the logic of the Finance Committee and the Select Board, but it also gets a lot of bodies.
Yeah, but that's what I was just saying. It's just a lot of people. But
Well, I'm just curious about people's thoughts.
I wonder if the Select Board and Finance Committee could be named as part of the advisory committee, but only be invited when there's times like talking about financial, like maybe like like a liaison to the committee, or on their board, if they had somebody that was a liaison to the committee when the committee needed to share with them some information that could be impactful.
kind of be on call.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I assume that Sasha wrote the first draft. She was thinking that if they got really excited about it, they'd be more likely to. They may not, in fact, want to spend that much time. I gather being on the Select Board also takes a lot of time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, having them be named or being a part of it, but not necessarily required to be at every meeting, might be the way to get that done, right?
Mhm.
Like that way they get the communications, they know what's going on. If they can allocate the time and think it's important, they show up. It could be something like that.
One thing we really didn't hash out, which would affect that, is whether it meets in the evening or in the afternoon.
I think that's something that'll have to be coordinated with the parties, whether it's, there's a Zoom link that people can come into, if it's all going to be in person. I mean, it's hard to get that many people together on a
Right.
schedule. So it's going to have to be some varying flexibility.
Correct.
But I can imagine teachers would feel that they just really can't give up their evenings, which would be perfectly reasonable. And then there might be other people who think, well, I'm work, so I can't do it.
Sometimes, much like a PTO meeting, maybe there's a meeting, some meetings are scheduled in the evenings, some meetings are scheduled during the school day. School day means covering those people's classrooms in order to attend the meetings. But I think once maybe the committee's formed, that would be a function of the committee to figure out what time, when they're going to do it. I don't know that we have to define that.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, but it's a good point.
Yeah.
I think what's the struggle is, in doing this work, we do want to value all the important stakeholders and make sure that all the voices have a presence at the table, and it's hard to do that and be to be small. There's tension there.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've, over the years, right, like, for example, I served on a principal search committee, right, that sometimes met during the day and sometimes met at night because it was the only way we could accommodate everybody. So I think it's solvable, right? And I think Alyssa's right that once it's formed, people will have to figure out how they can best get that, get their meetings in.
So on this list, do we want to put next to Select Board and Finance Committee optional positions?
Mm-hmm.
Just so it's not a mandatory that they have to be on this committee.
And Pam, you're suggesting the last 2 items be changed to 2 from the administrative leadership team?
Correct.
Better way to put it. Okay. So the next step for this would be to bring it up as a first read in order to make this actually happen.
Oh, well, I'm assuming that, I'm sorry that I wasn't able to comment, but that that we would circulate the draft amongst the committee and then possibly suggest changes. But that's all right.
No, we can. We
I mean, you can still do that, right? You can just say this was the first time. and-
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Sure.
I'm just thinking from agenda management point of view, if we want to move this forward, we should have it be maybe on the next agenda as a first read.
Oh.
So put it on for the 20th
Well, the
as
next
the first
agenda,
read.
the next meeting's going to be really crowded, right?
I don't know.
Well, I can
I don't think it'll be more crowded than tonight.
No, we won't do a big superintendent's report, so.
Yeah, it would probably be.
We're going to reorganize the committee.
Yeah.
That doesn't take long.
I don't think
It doesn't take
That
long.
takes 8 minutes.
Wonderful, like 8 minutes, but it'll probably be pretty fast.
But at some point, there's going to be a budget meeting.
Yeah, but I don't know
You don't
when
think
that.
it'll be then?
I have no way to know.
Probably not. Well, then 2 weeks. I mean, you'll have a budget update. I'll give you a budget update, and they'll have some information, and hopefully I'll know a little bit. We'll know where we are with 24 at that point, and how we ended the year. The year will be over for the most part, and we'll have some things for 20. I think if you're going to put this on for June 20th, maybe you want to say to members who haven't, you all haven't had a chance to read it, to get questions in.
Yep.
You can send them to Michelle. She can share it with, if there's anything that you want, revised for the 20th. So any questions that you might have for here, try to get those to Michelle so that it gives this committee a chance to revise the draft for an appropriate first read for the 20th.
Yes, okay, sure.
You mean the working group
Mhm.
to revise it?
Correct.
Okay, so questions to Michelle, and we'll hopefully be able to put it on the next agenda as a first read.
As a first read.
Okay. Okay.
Can I just make one point of order here? If it's a first read, I mean, there's going to be an expectation that we're having a July meeting.
Good point.
I mean, once we get this first report back, we're going to have to meet about it. So regardless, we're going to have a July meeting.
And a budget.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have a July meeting anyway.
So should we
For a second, and
look
then we'll
at,
put that on for a second.
Yeah.
should we try to find a date in early July while we're thinking about this?
Do we want to go back to our
Yeah.
sheet?
Now that well,
I think we should, yeah.
I'm just sort of taking Alyssa's point to the next.
Well, we know the week of July 1st is out.
Can I make a suggestion too?
Please.
Sure.
To me, this is an example of one of the things that, as a committee, you may want to bring. I know you're talking about your own feedback about
It's a good point.
the advisory committee and
Yeah.
council and what's in it, and you're assigning teachers, whoever. But one of the things that you might want to do is to get feedback
From them, yeah.
the educators around what they think about the committee and the makeup, and suggestions about outcomes or whatever, That,
That's an
again, which is
excellent point.
prolongs
Yeah.
the piece, but
Yeah. No, it is a very good point. Thank you for
Yep.
that suggestion.
I'll
Actually,
share it
from
with-
all the constituents, really, educators, staff, administration.
I'll share it with the union leadership for both the teachers and the teaching assistants, and then they can share it with their members. That's an excellent point.
Yep, thank you, Marcy. So back to figuring out a date to meet in July. I think actually that July 8th date, which is a Monday.
So Kelly can't do that. Oh, she can
She
just.
can do just Monday, and I can do Monday. I
Yeah,
might be a little
that's-
tired, but unless there's some weird airplane thing that happens, I should be able to make it.
Yeah. Okay. So July 8th.
But at night, right? That would do the evening, because I'm flying back up overnight, I believe,
Okay.
from my vacation. So if we do it in the evening, I should be all right.
I hope so. I work during the day.
What's that?
I said, I work that day.
And then I don't know, are you strict on a 7 o'clock time in the summer? Is there a possibility of like a 5
Earlier?
o'clock meeting
probably
or
move it up.
5:30 or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I could.
There is eating.
Oh, we don't eat.
I haven't eaten since April.
We could bring our own. We could bring food in. I mean, if we want, if people don't mind me chewing while we're.
I mean, what about if we could do like a 6 o'clock? At least it's a little earlier.
6 o'clock's fine. It's fine with me.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
No, I think
it's a good point.
I did tonight.
Yep, okay. All right, so we'll target 6 p.m. July 8th. Okay. Good. All right, now, I'm very happy to note, I'm adding one item that's not listed here, which is I'm very happy to report that we as a committee have reached agreement with Ms. Lathrop on her contract update, I guess is the right way to put it, while she is serving as our acting superintendent, and then, returning to the job she was originally hired for, as assistant superintendent of teaching and learning. So I'm very happy to announce we've reached agreement. We'll be signing it when we're done tonight, and I think that's all I need to say. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And that was a
Oh, we need to. Oh, yes. Do we need to revote? I think we do. technically need to revote. Yes, we do need to revote. I apologize. So,
and Joe has stepped out.
yes. So, if the committee is okay with it, I will postpone that vote for a few minutes till he comes back. So we'll go back to the chair's report at that point, and I can give the Kittredge update while he's out, because we're moving to the next item, which is school building committee updates. And I prepared one. The problem is, where'd I put it? Oh, here we go. Okay, so lots going on there. There are several processes going on. One is visits to schools. Done 2 of them. I was able to go to the second one, which was the Smith School in Danvers, beautiful 3-year-old school, wonderful modern feel. A lot of thought there went into layout, structure, building egress, security, ADA compliance, all of that kind of stuff. The building was beautiful. We informally saw a bunch of staff. Everybody looked pretty happy. Principal was excellent. They did a really super clever approach to several of the something we should definitely consider for Kittredge. They had their stage, right, was 2-sided. So one side faced the cafeteria and the other faced the gym. So you could present either way. And then, like, nominally they have accordion walls. So it's the music, like the band practice room when it's contained, and then it can be opened up to perform something either for the caf or the gym. She said they use the gym more often because it holds more people.
And no auditorium.
And there's no separate auditorium, but it fills all of those functions, which was really, I thought, very clever. I also really liked the separation of sort of the central, their layout. It's sort of the central stuff in one area and then a classroom section. So that, for example, what she said was what's great about it is if there's a lot of noise going on in the gym or a lot of music going on in the music rooms, the classrooms aren't bothered by it. They're far enough away where it's not an issue. So some really good architectural stuff going on there. So all of that is going into the mix. We met on June 3rd to review those visits and also to look at various layout scenarios that they're contemplating. This is with the our owner project manager and the MSBA liaison there. There are visioning workshops going on with participants from staff, parents, the select boards, us, me, school committee rep. Two of the 3 planned ones have been completed already. There's one more this coming Wednesday, June 12th. This is really important. There is a virtual community forum coming up Monday, June 10th, via Zoom, and the link is on the Kittredge website. If you go through our NAPS website to Kittredge School, there's a Zoom link, so the public is encouraged and welcome to attend, and that's the community forum on the whole project. So I encourage people to do that. And then our working committee and the MSBA are gathering all the feedback from all this stuff, to put into the next phase of the project. So a lot going on with Kittredge.
I'll have, Michelle will send out another reminder to the community. She sent an all email out about the June 10th because we'd love as much participation as possible for that. So we'll send that link out again to our school community.
So that's that. We need Joe for the middle school. But I think we can,
I think
we
do
can
the
keep
others.
going. The old business, we have second read and vote on the annual appointment of a school physician. We talked about that last week, so I think it's okay to vote, even though Joe's not here, unless someone objects to that.
I move to appoint Dr. Chan as the school physician for FY25.
I'll second that. I don't imagine there's any discussion. We discussed it last week. So, Alyssa?
Yes.
Ed?
Yeah.
And I vote yes, so that passes. Student activity funds, I know, yeah, all the other stuff coming up, we really need Joe for, I believe.
Well, I mean, we have a quorum to vote on these.
Okay. So we can, let's keep going then. Student activity funds is next.
So I move to approve the FY25 student activity accounts.
Oh, this is that's right, this is the revolving funds. Yeah. Okay. I will second that. Do we need to discuss? This hasn't changed from Pam from last time, right? This is
No,
what
it
we
has
saw
not. Nope, same one as
meeting.
last week.
Yeah. Any questions?
I just want to make sure I understand how this works. That they can't spend the money unless A, we appropriate it, and B, they get it. Is that fair? Or do I not understand it right?
So this is the one, remember we talked about, say, like, student council has a bake sale. This is just where they keep their money for their purposes of whatever student council needs to purchase.
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
But the question is, what are we actually approving?
You're
If they
approving.
get the money, can they spend it, or do they need us?
Nope, if they get the money, they can spend the money.
Okay,
You're
then-
approving that we establish that these are the accounts that we're going to hold for next year.
Right, okay. And then you said something about at the beginning of the year, their money carries over too, right?
Mm-hmm, correct.
Right,
It
they're,
should.
Yep.
they are revolving accounts.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So they can,
So,
if we approve this, they can spend the money they have.
correct.
And this is more of an estimate than anything else.
No, I
Nope,
think
this
these
is
are
the,
actual
these are
amounts.
actual amounts, and one of the things that you might say is, why are you keeping an account that has zero money? And so what we've confirmed with the person who's responsible for each account, that every zero balance is, of these accounts are still needed. So even though they have zero money, they still want us to carry this account forward for them.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
No, but what I mean, like, so if the elevator keys, I don't know why I picked that one, has $285, that's a real number.
Correct.
And then, this is this for the month of May?
Nope.
It says
This
May
is just a
20.
snapshot. She's just showing you
what's
that these are all
currently.
what the accounts are and what we
Well-
currently have in it at the amount,
But it
at
isn't-
this time.
No, but it isn't exactly a snapshot of it. Has a beginning balance and an ending balance. So it must be
I mean,
for
she's
some
showing
period.
you all the clubs that we are recommending to carry forward, and that this is what their balance is. You're right.
But this is just sort of for our information, that the moment they have what they have, they can spend what they take in.
Correct.
That sounds fine.
Great.
Just wanted to make sure I understand it.
Well, I guess it's not really a snapshot, it's the May summary.
Correct.
Yeah. It's the May activity summary. All right, can we, any other discussion? Can we vote? Alyssa?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's passed. Okay, school physician activity funds. Okay. Athletic user fees. All right. Just need a second to check this. So this is exactly what we heard from Steve Nugent last time. Right?
Correct.
Yes.
This is his exact presentation. I did not receive any questions. I did not receive any emails from the community or from families inquiring about this.
Okay. Actually, neither did I. So
I move to approve the requested increase in the athletic department increase of user fees
as outlined in the memo.
as outlined in the memorandum.
I'll second that.
I mean, as a point of discussion, I have to say it's never favorable to raise fees. It's nothing we ever want to do, but given the funding that we're under and the increased needs of the athletic department, I think it's necessary.
Yeah, I agree. It's how do I put it, right? You have to, somehow it has to get paid for, right?
Yeah.
And so, some communities, we learned last time, right? Some communities don't have fees, but they have different operating budgets than we do, right? And then other communities like us do charge fees. These have been stable for 12 years and costs have skyrocketed in the last 12 years. So it's not unreasonable that it needs to go up. And I mean, I can tell you, right, that I'm experiencing this firsthand. The transportation costs are crazy. And even when we try to save a little bit by having a coach, say, drive a small team and being one of those coaches and getting to drive a small team to a game, it's a volunteer coach, right? It's a lot to ask, and that's not free either, right? We have to maintain the vans, we have to buy gas. It's like you pay one way or another, I guess is my point. So,
Do you take them in your own car?
No. The school has a van. You don't need a commercial license for it. It's like a Ford Transit. Okay. It's not, but it's something like that. It seats 15 people or 16 people. And we ask a lot of our coaches, and they become drivers.
I once met a principal he was also the driver of the teams, and he used the money to, buy books or something like that.
I mean, we're doing what we got to do as a district, right? That's where I'm at on this. I don't like it. I really don't like it, but I don't see, I guess I put it this way, I don't see an alternative that works. So, shall we vote? So, I'm going to change it up. Ed, are you in favor? Yes. Oh, did we second? I seconded it. I think so. You're in favor? I'm sorry, Ed is in favor. Alyssa?
Yes.
And Dave is in favor, Chair is in favor, so that has also passed. Okay. Now, preschool tuition.
This hasn't changed since what we presented last week. So there's an option to increase all programs by $200. There's a second option to increase the full-day programs by $200 and the half-day programs by $100. I will say that I did receive at least one email saying that this makes it difficult for their family. So they, with the fee increase. So I have had some, and I have seen a little bit of feedback on social media about it.
Well, I asked you a question, actually, what you thought about reducing the increase for a second child in a family.
Oh, did that come to me?
I thought so. Did I forget to send it?
I don't remember getting that, but it doesn't mean that it's not in my inbox somewhere.
I mean, it's also likely that I didn't actually hit the send button. The idea was that David forwarded that to the members of the committee, and then I wrote to you and David and said that I could understand that if you had two children, this was particularly difficult.
Yep, it's a good point.
I thought that there were probably very, very few cases of that, and how much it would cost if we did not increase the fee for a second child in a family. I can't imagine it's very much money.
There probably are families that have more than one child in preschool.
Yeah. Well, but how many years, really? How many years does preschool go?
Could be 2 usually.
Like age 3 and 4.
So it would
3
be
and 4. If they have twins, or if they have, twins and not,
yes, okay.
Twins or Irish twins.
So I guess my question is, if we were to approve and increase one of these, can we come back and discuss later on discounting a second child, third child, whatever the case may be? Because I know there's a time crunch on this.
Right. So I think there are some families who are waiting. We're waiting to accept, and there's families on the waiting list. And this was again, we haven't raised our tuition in the preschool since 2016, 2017. And this was one of the revenue sources that was proposed earlier in the school year for FY25 was an increase of preschool tuition. But yes.
So, well, I was hoping, I'm sorry if I screwed up and it didn't
That's
actually
okay.
come to you, that it would be, if the number was small enough that we could vote on it now. I guess we shouldn't do it if we don't know how many children are involved.
Right, so Alyssa's suggestion is one thing we could consider is passing this
And then
coming back and amending it.
What I'm worried about is that some parent might withdraw their child because they thought that they couldn't afford it, and then a week later,
We change it.
we change it. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I understand.
What's the current, this would help me, I know that there's generally, in both cases, right, a plan that if people can't afford it, what we would do for them, but I can't
Free and
remember.
reduced lunch. So the same as if they would apply for free and reduced lunch, they could get a discount.
A waiver, or
Mhm.
discount or a waiver?
Discount or a waiver, yep.
Oh, either way.
Correct,
Okay.
depending on,
So does that?
Free or reduced.
yes.
Right, so, right. Lunch is free now for everybody.
Lunch is free, but we still use that form in order to determine other kinds of fees.
Oh, okay, exemption or reduced other.
Correct.
fees.
So we still fill out the form?
We do.
So I guess the question is, so would it be accurate for us to say, well, okay, we're gonna do whichever plan we pick? And then if someone has an issue, they can always apply, if they feel that they can't afford it, right? They can always
Correct.
file that form.
But I think you would know better than I, there's a waiting list, right? So
Correct.
if you apply at the last minute, you aren't gonna get in.
No.
I think that, maybe another way to put it, any child who's gonna be in it next year has already applied.
So
The-
most
the
children
issue-
have been on the waiting list since 3 to 4 months.
So the issue really is, if somebody, maybe you can say that somebody with multiple children can hold the position and tell us in 2 weeks, if you don't feel we can vote on
The
that.
preschool has been stalling on doing the screening for children coming into preschool because of this. And I think some parents, it's kind of tricky because preschool waiting lists are everywhere, right? So even if a child is in, they're maybe tricky for them to go someplace else.
So what's the total revenue that we're gonna raise from this?
We projected, so originally it was $200 across the board, and it was projected $153,000 additional revenue.
How many children are we talking about, roughly?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have that in front of me to tell you. I probably have it
Well,
somewhere.
we could do it, but it's a good rule never to do math in public.
Correct. And so that was the 200, and then we really thought about it, and 200 felt like a lot, and the half-day program, that felt like a very big jump for the half-day program, is why we suggested the half-day program is an increase of $100.
So that's the total revenue, or the 150, or that's the
We had
increase?
projected 153,000 if everybody was at 200, if we did a
Increase.
$200 increase for everybody.
Is that the
It'd be a
total-
little bit less than 153,000.
Is that the total revenue or the increase?
That's the increase. That's the revenue that we would generate by the increase. I don't know what the total revenue is.
I mean, I recognize for people that it is a substantial increase,
Well,
2,400 or.
We were I'm sorry to interrupt, we were discussing a specific proposal, which was, should we forego the increase for the second child in the given family. And I think most people would like to do it, but would like to know how much it costs. That's the issue.
Well, the other thing is that's not what.
You can amend this if
I
you
guess
want.
we could amend it.
I mean, you can amend it to $100 across the board if you want, as opposed to 200 or 100.
But what you're proposing is we raise it, but it doesn't apply to a second child.
That's exactly what I'm proposing, yes. Actually, I'll make that a motion.
Or an amendment, right?
Amendment, excuse me.
Well, no one's moved anything yet.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
well.
We don't have a motion yet, so we're just discussing.
Okay.
So I guess the first question is, would we lean toward Plan A or Option 1 or Option 2, in which it's either 200 across the board or 200 for full day, 100 for part-time? Looking at the hourly breakdown, I think it's more comparable and seems like a fair step to do that 200 full day, 100 part day program.
Well, I certainly would agree with that.
I would lean towards the split, the 100, 200, 1, option 2.
Sounds like we have a decision.
I had something else to say in regards. I understand the struggles that this could be for some families, going up by $2,400 for the year, and then maybe another $24 if they have a second child. And I completely understand that, but I also look at the rates of what programs are around us, both private and in other schools, and it is, even with those increases, we are still very below, really below where you would pay otherwise. I think that's important to think about. And free and reduced lunch matters. Maybe it's not having it go up, but maybe it's I don't know. I was gonna stop there. I feel like this one is more necessary for me to do it, and I know it's going to impact a few families differently. I'm not denying that exists, but.
And we work with families, so if the increase, there is options to pay over time. This doesn't have to be a straightforward payment.
And it is true, right, that if say one of these people that are in one of these families that's in this issue where they have a second child at the same time, I mean that they can go through that process, right, and apply for a reduction or a waiver.
It's the people in between that are going to find it the hardest. Not the ones who qualify for free and reduced lunch, or the ones that can afford it outright. It's the ones
in between. We could do an extended payment plan.
Yes, those are the ones who are going to have to make the choice.
I'm sorry, which ones?
Ones who don't quite qualify for free and reduced lunch, but also don't have enough money to pay for the things. We have to then make those hard choices about rent or food or health insurance that some of us have been in before.
Something I'm not quite clear on, the Commonwealth is spending like $1.5 billion on preschool. Are there, I guess for some reason that doesn't go to public school systems.
No, there was a grant earlier in the year that what looked like it was a good grant that we were interested in. Dr. Goddard, our principal, sat through the webinar, but we were not one of the districts that ended up qualifying for it.
But there must be schools nearby. If the state spends that much money, are there not other preschools that families can send their children to?
There's many preschools that.
And are the Commonwealth ones, what do they charge?
I don't know that we
don't really
have that. I mean, there's private preschools. There's other options. I think, as Mr. Hicks said, our prices are comparable to like an outside, or probably lower than an outside preschool.
We certainly look substantially lower than the I don't know. Even with our changes, we're still underneath all these comparables.
Well, and remembering that preschool is not mandatory.
Right.
This is an added.
These are our peer models or our who participate in the paid program.
Yeah, for the purposes of discussion, I'm in on the 200, 100. I don't think it. I think 200 across the board is a little bit. In other words, I agree with the rest of you on that one. So.
And understanding both this and in our user fees for athletics, eventually our goal would be to, I want to, the day that somebody comes to this school committee and says, we'd like to lower the fees.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to.
That would be a goal.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I'd like you to consider that for athletic fees for next year.
Yeah.
So at least show me what it looks like.
All right. So we can have that as our aspirational goal for sure. All of us would like that, but we got to do something about this.
So I move to increase the preschool tuition rates by $200 for the full day program and lunch classes, and $100 increase to monthly to part-time day programs.
Which one? Which option?
Option two.
Option two.
The 2-1.
Yeah.
I second.
All right. Any further discussion on that? Okay, then we shall vote.
Oh, you mean I should put my amendment in?
Oh, you could offer an amendment if you want. We're in the discussion on the motion made.
Well, all right, I would propose that we waive the increase for a second child in the family.
So I'm trying to think typically how other preschools do it, where it's more of a percentage discount for the second child.
It's usually 10%.
Right.
I paid 10% last time at the second kid.
So it's just a discount.
That's something we can
Either
offer
way.
it that way.
That would actually be more expensive, wouldn't it?
So is just so I understand? So second child, you pay 90% instead of the full amount, or you pay
10% less than the full amount.
Than the full amount for the second one.
Correct.
You pay 100% for the full
When we used to
amount.
charge for full day kindergarten, that's what we would do.
Yeah.
Not here. I didn't work here. I work someplace else.
Yes.
All right, so the full day is going to be 7,200. Does that mean it's 7,000 now, or am I missing something? The 200 is what?
It's currently 5,200.
So this is the proposed. That's a $200 increase. So it was 500.
Point
520.
Order. There's a motion on the table that hasn't been seconded yet.
Well, there's an amendment offered.
There's a motion for an amendment on the
Yeah.
table that hasn't been seconded yet, so we should second it before we discuss it.
So with the proposed amendment is no increase for the second kid. Maintain current price. I just want to understand it.
That was the amendment, right?
I think I would lean more towards, and I'm not seconding that. I would lean toward a 10% discount, but I don't think that we can say no increase.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in favor.
I'm not going to second.
So that no one's seconding that amendment. But you could propose another one.
Do you want to propose the 10% discount?
I mean, I think it's, although it's an increase, I think comparably to what most private preschool, and even comparable public preschool tuition is, I still think it's fair.
It's
really
hard
not
on a family to do two at once, and it isn't very many families.
Well, some families it's hard for them to do one. I mean, it's.
Marcy, do you know if we offer a percentage discount now on the second child?
I don't, and I'm trying to think, and to the point, it's probably very few families, so I wonder if we're having a large discussion over something that we could discuss with individual parents around individual needs.
That's where I was coming from, was that if somebody really has a need, I mean, they can. So let me understand, so point of information.
Mm-hmm.
So if a family needs to come in and pay less, do they have to pass a certain standard, right? Like what when you say free and reduced lunch, I'm not sure I fully
It's an
understand what that
application.
means.
It's an application they fill out
Okay.
that's based
On income.
on income, and then we just run the numbers, and then it tells them whether or not they qualify or not.
There's guidelines.
So it's not a negotiation.
It's not a
hard and
negotiation.
fast.
No, it's either you don't,
Or you
get
do.
reduced, or you get free.
Okay.
Correct.
So there's it's stratified.
Criteria.
Correct.
Okay. Well,
So I guess there can be some different sort of hardship process that we could institute for parent, like a hardship process for parents with more than one child entering preschool in consecutive years or
Well, from
something
what
like
it
that.
sounds like, that's already implemented in families that have a hardship.
Correct.
Hardship
The district's
beyond.
willing to
Yes.
work with them
Correct.
to make it.
so that's important to me. Okay, so you're saying that if somebody, despite maybe not passing the qualifications of the free and reduced lunch system, still feels they have a hardship, they can still approach us?
Correct.
I lost my job, you know what I mean? Like I didn't, you know, things happened during
Something
the year.
happened,
Yeah.
yes.
So that mechanism is there?
Always there.
Okay, well then I don't, then I was gonna offer the 10% amendment.
No, yeah, but knowing that's always available.
In anything, that become community programs, anything.
fee.
Mhm.
The parents are aware of this?
I think so. We've had many parents come forward to us, families this year, that have come on to a hardship, and sometimes it's just for a short amount of time, and we've always been able to accommodate them.
Particularly around community programs, before school care, after school care.
All right, well,
And
knowing
I
that,
want
I
to say
feel,
the things that go out in community programs, it does state that in there.
Absolutely, and on all field trips.
And all
things.
field trip forms, we have.
We
put
know
that.
we have a very compassionate, empathetic district that works with families individually when the
Okay.
time is necessary.
well, knowing that, I feel differently. I was gonna propose the 10%, but now that I know that mechanism is there, it's not just cut and dry. They, because I can imagine many scenarios where they don't pass the
Right.
criteria for
Correct.
free and reduced lunch, but they really have a problem.
Mhm.
So if there's a way for that to be dealt with, then I'm good.
Okay.
All right, so we're back to the original motion, which was Plan B.
Alyssa moved the option 2, and I had
Two.
seconded it.
Yeah, so is there any further discussion? Okay, then let's vote. Joe?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Alyssa? Not
Yes.
Melissa. Alyssa?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, so it's option 2, the 200 and 100. Okay.
10 o'clock. I'm
Yep,
trying
I'm
to keep you on
sorry.
track, sorry.
Yeah,
We have one more.
We have just one more, which is,
We have to
vote
Do you
on-
want to go back and do a quick North Andover Middle School update?
30
Oh,
seconds.
yes,
It's
go
being
ahead.
built, they're doing drywall, windows are going in, everything is going on schedule. They gave us a plan to get done for substantial completion by the beginning of August. We are working our buns off to make sure it comes in on time under budget.
Good
Even
job.
if that's by $4, it's going to come in under budget.
All right.
That's my
Fantastic.
pledge. Okay.
Thank you. All right, so now back to the chair's report. The last item is just we need to vote on Ms. Lathrop's contract.
Do I have to make a motion?
Somebody does need to make a
I
motion.
move that we accept the contract for Ms. Lathrop as, it's both.
Acting superintendent and
For
assistant.
assistant superintendent of teaching and learning and as acting superintendent, as spelled out in the contract.
In the contract. I'll second that.
And just so the public's aware, there were some issues with the standing contract that were resolved. That's why we're redoing that one.
Yes.
And one of the outcomes is that Ms. Lathrop had originally signed a 3-year contract, and we have come to agreement for a new 3-year
period.
contract.
Right, beginning today.
Correct.
And lasting for 3
Okay.
years. That's good
All right, I
clarification.
think
So
we're
we
good.
have a motion. I've seconded it.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? We will.
Thank you, Ms. Lathrop, for all the hard work you're doing. Really appreciate it.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Everybody's working very hard.
Yes.
It
Yes.
takes a village.
Yes, it does.
It's greatly appreciated. Okay, a vote. Ed?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. That's done. Congratulations. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. No?
No.
School Educator Hall of Fame.
Oh, my
We
gosh.
have one more thing, and this is
Yeah.
except for the amazing presentation. So Alyssa and I and Mr. Landry and Jane Broderick and Mary Helen Paradise met this week as the committee for the Educator Hall of Fame. Thank you to them for meeting and going through the process with us. We have made the decision to move one name forward in the process to be considered, well, viewed on the second, and then we'll have a time and we'll make an official vote on June 20th. So thank you very much. We very thoughtful things that were said. I did not include the rationale just yet. I will send that to Ms. McHugh tomorrow morning to have it attached to this agenda and then to be attached to the next agenda, all the support materials, but I didn't want to put it there before we shared it publicly with everybody else. Officially, we are moving forward to move into the North Andover Educator Hall of Fame, Ms. Lisa Bernard, who was a teacher at the former Brad Street Early Childhood Center and then the Atkinson from 1985 until 2003. An absolutely wonderful teacher who worked with student teachers, who brought joy into the classroom, who taught kids to share and be both be serious and silly at the same time, and getting them ready for what comes next in first grade. They put on a show called A Musical Extravaganza of Unparalleled Proportion. I want to know what that looked like. I hope we have video of that. And just some wonderful letters came from the community and the people that nominated her. So thank you very much to them. We called Ms. Barnard immediately afterwards, and she was honored to be even considered. And it was wonderful to talk with her right away. And so her name is officially being moved forward as a first read. We will take a vote on June 20th, but I would ask anybody, including Ms. Callaghy or Ms. Hathaway or Ms. Simmons or Ms. Landers or if you would like to come on the 20th and offer official public comment on Ms. Bernard, that would be fantastic, or anybody else who had her as a teacher. So that's what I have right now. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you for not letting me forget that.
Before you adjourn, tomorrow is Special Olympics in North Andover. It's North Andover. Marcy and her team have done a great job getting ready for that.
Does it happen?
It's
Where?
Opening ceremony started at 9:15.
On the track.
Up at the track?
Yep.
Okay. At the high school?
Side. Yep. Correct.
Yeah.
And can I make one small announcement as part of a public
Sure.
comment before adjourn? Next week, thank you to the Cultural Council and to North Andover Pride Project. We'll have Pride and Popsicles on the town common next week. So come on down and celebrate all the wonderfulness of being an inclusive community.
Is that June 12th?
I think so.
Yes.
And there's a rain date.
What time?
5 to 8?
5 to 8, 5:30 to 8:30. The Pride Project has been promoting it online on Facebook.
Okay.
I should know this thing off the top of my head.
I have 5 to 8 on my calendar.
I have
5 to 8?
popsicles 5:30 to 6:30.
And it's the 12th?
Maybe that's my shift.
Yeah, it's on the 12th. We'll be there eating popsicles and playing games. There will be lots of rainbows, both traditional and progressive ones, and it's going to be fantastic. And we actually have new banners that will eventually go on light poles next year.
All right.
Which is great.
Fantastic.
And I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. And, thank you for that. We don't discuss that, so.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Joe votes yes. Ed?
Yes.
Ellison? I vote yes. Meeting is adjourned 10:06.